has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and
Although yes, we can sack her and they will have a by-elections. Absolute ignorance. The standing orders and the constitution is very clear. If you sack Adwoa Safo, it is not automatic that her seat be declared vacant. Someone would have to petition the speaker, and the speaker will refer it to the appropriate committee, in this case the privileges committee. Now, assuming such happens and the speaker is petitioned and the matter is referred to the privileges committee, and the privileges committee recommends that Adwoa Safo seat should be declared vacant, it is not automatic. They would have to come to the larger house, the plenary, and that decision will be taken by the house in voting, and 2/3 of members of parliament must vote in support of that. You think NDC will do that? Why? You see, God speaks to these people in a language they don't understand. At least it's arrogance, ego, that is making them not see the way God speaks to them. If Adwoa Safo returns today, they will still not table e-levy because they don't have the numbers. If Adwoa Safo returns today, they will still not table e-levy because look, we make sure that our 137 members are always in parliament every day, inshallah. And any voting that is done, and you have equal numbers voting for or against, that particular motion or bill would deem to fail. So they can't. When they attempt to do one thing, God will speak to them in a way. I mean, it tells you the morass of incompetence of this government. Why? So without e-levy, they have no alternative. It's like everything, they put all their eggs in one basket. Is that how visionary and smart governments do? No. Everything is e-levy. Even if you want to marry, e-levy. If you want to pass exams, e-levy. Everything. And Sena could not have put it in a better form than when he said it's like Akuba. It treats everything. E-levy, everything. It simply doesn't make sense. The NDC opposition to e-levy is in sync with the position of the people of this country. And I've heard a lot of them who say, it's the NDC. It's not NDC. That is the position taken by civil society organizations. ISE is one of the reputable institutions in this country. It's a research. I mean, ISE, I have participated in working for ISE in research. We helped in collecting data. We went to the ground for months. So ISE has that reputation, that distinguished reputation. ISE is against it. All the aspects they brought to take us members of parliament through the budget, that is the post-budget workshop at home, Volta Serene, they all raise issues about the e-levy. Multimedia, who are friends to this government anyway, they did their own survey, and over 90% of the people of this country says they are against e-levy. Central University, which is owned by an MPP person, that was the university that gave their space for Dr. Bawumia to go with his voodoo economics. Central University conducted a survey. Over 90% of Ghanaians says they are against it. What is so special about the e-levy that they want to have it at all cost? We are saying that tax regime is not fair, it's regressive. We are saying that instrument of tax is not fair. I want to go and buy fuel in my car, 500. You also drove your car to the pump, 500. We are all buying 500. I decide to pay cash, and you decide to pay through Momo. I will pay 500 and get 500 worth of fuel. I drive my car away. You also pay 500 through Momo. You get 500 worth of fuel, but you pay tax again on the 500. Does it even make sense? So that is the position. So what they are doing is simply for Adwoa Safo. But let me be very clear. Even if Adwoa Safo comes today, they can still not pass e-levy. God is speaking to them. If I were them, we would have done this e-levy nonsense. And they won't do that. I know them. And we will not allow anybody to engage in an illegality in the house. We will resist it. Even if it means we should exchange blows to defend this constitution and defend the standing orders, we will do that. The constitution itself urges us as a group to use any legitimate means to ensure that this constitution is not truncated. Well, I think that to a very large extent we have, and we have because of the caliber of leaders we had, or some of the caliber of leaders we had after the overthrow. For me, today is a reminder of the dark ages in our political history as a people. It's a reminder of the quality of the Buza Danko tradition to the growth and the progress of this nation. Don't get me wrong, my grandfather, the Tolna Yakubu, was one of the founding fathers of the Buza Danko tradition, and they have done great disservice. This tradition has done great disservice, an injury that can never be healed to this country. If the Nkrumah's administration was not illegally and criminally, overthrown, if that democratic process was never truncated, I really don't think that would have been in the state in which we are. Nkrumah was democratically elected, and these people haven't tried, contested every elections with Nkrumah, and he beat them. They had no option than to do the things they did. But it is important for us to demystify some of the outright lies they have told about Nkrumah, and the fact that Nkrumah was brought to the UGCC and Nkrumah betrayed the UGCC, all those rubbish. Osaji, and also it must be stated clearly that the idea of liberating Ghana was not or never done on Nkrumah only after he came to join the UGCC. As a matter of fact, Nkrumah left the shores of this country to the United Kingdom and the United States just to build himself intellectually, politically, so he could be in a better position to help liberate this country. The desire of Nkrumah to leave the shores of this country was nothing less except to ensure that this country was liberated and the continent of Africa was liberated. And I support this view with the evidences I'm about to espouse. When Nkrumah traveled, Nkrumah indeed joined movements that were working towards liberating Black Africa, that was working towards liberating the black man consciously, economically and politically. At the time when Nkrumah had relationship with the likes of Du Bois, and you can mention of...
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer, and he has labored, he has suffered to lead his people.
Thank you very much for joining us on the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. We are live from the studios of Pan-African Television this morning, as we always do every Saturday. My name is Sena Nombo. It's my pleasure to be in this seat once again today. We thank God for his grace, and I hope you had a wonderful week. Anyway, let me say a big thank you to our affiliate stations across the country. A big thank you to you. Hopefully we'll be on Ahunto 92.3 FM. If we are on that station, a big thank you to them, because it is the only radio platform we have in the Greater Accra region now. But we have other stations across the regions where you can get to listen to us. I'll go through some of them as we go along in the show. But let me also say a big thank you to every one of you joining us via any of our social media platforms. A big thank you to you if you're watching us on Facebook, Pan-African Television, and YouTube. If you're joining us by any of those platforms, use the comment section, make a comment, and we'll share it with the rest of the world. Well, this morning, we're talking about the curious case of Sarah Asafo. A couple of things have been said. flown in with the private jet, goes home, decides not to come out. Chief of staff uses motorcade, parks in front of her house for 30 minutes. After the 30 minutes, she decides to allow the chief of staff in. Chief of staff goes into her sitting room, sits there for 35 minutes to wait for her. By the time she came down and was persuaded, it was already past. Parliament had already risen. Then there's also the part about 120,000 Ghana cedis that is allegedly given to her. That was put in her Fidelity Bank account. That is a story not of Sarah Adjo-Asafo. It's a story told by none other but Kennedy Ejepon, who is Member of Parliament for Asin Central. So far, the leadership of Parliament has refused to comment on it. I've watched a couple of videos of the Deputy Majority Leader refusing to comment on the claims made by Honorable Kennedy Ejepon. So we'll be talking about her and how come she has become the center of attention at this time. After that, we'll stay on the issues that are leading to this. Money. The finance minister says Ghana is broke. The speaker in parliament this week said his information is that within the next 3 months, government will have difficulties paying salaries. What is our situation? The finance minister says e-levy is the way out, but if you make it difficult for him, he has fuel. He could use fuel. Yet fuel prices keep going up. And in the wake of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, it just keeps going up on the market. So we'll spend some time talking about Ghana's financial situation and then end with the day of shame. On February 24th, we marked the overthrow of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. What would Ghana have been? What was the vision? And how have we suffered because of what happened on February 24th, 1966? So those are the issues we'll be discussing this morning. And I'm joined this morning, always a pleasure to see him on a Saturday morning, Mr. Pratt, Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr., who is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Sitting by him today is Margaret Anse Mago, who joins us this morning, first time in the year. And then Solomon also joins us for the second time in the year. Is a member of the MPP's communication team. So I'm just the seat that is left that will be close to me will be filled by none other but our very good friend Kojo Chomboafo, who is a former chief executive of the Ghana Free Zones Authority. So that's my panel for today. And we are already way behind time. So we'll dive right into it and start the discussion on the issues that are being raised about Sarah Adjo-Asafo. I forgot one thing. It is said that she is asking to be made Deputy Majority Leader. Well, I'll start with Margot on that issue. Good morning.
Good morning.
And wonderful to see you.
Yeah, happy.
Many happy returns.
And good morning to my senior Uncle Kwesi Pratt and my brother from the MPP. So, Sena, a special good morning to you and your cherished viewers. I wish all of them a happy new year. And I pray the Lord takes us through. I mean, we still have 2 more to go for the 4 more. And I pray for grace that we will able to withstand the unnecessary hardship that the Adodanko Akufo-Addo government is just inflicting on us. So now on Madam Honorable Sarah Adjo-Asafo, there's been a lot of hullabaloo around her absence in Parliament, and for e-levy, I don't think it would have been an issue whether Madam Sarah has asked for a sick leave or maternity leave, because we are human beings and you don't have control over tomorrow. Anything could happen to anybody. And therefore, if there was something wrong with her or she's gone to deliver, she has not spoken. So all those going on are some conspiracy theories that we are also gathering. Whatever the reason is, if she's not fit to go to Parliament, I think there are procedures the House has put in place that they go through. But she's become a topic now because of e-levy. And Sena, with the alleged whatever information one of their members, Honorable Kennedy Japan, is also spewing out there, if it is anything to go by, that the Chief of Staff of Ghana gave him, an MP, 120,000, whether it is dollars, pounds, euros, cedis. Unfortunately, that was not stated. But 120,000 to be deposited in a Joyce Fidelity account. Sena, for what? Is it all because of e-levy? When John Dramani Mahama was a president, we heard a lot of voices in this country. And we always ask, where are those voices? But Sena, I am tempted to believe that it means that the MPP is good at spending our resources instead of using them for developmental projects. They use the monies to shut people up or to bribe them. Because this is an internal thing. I'm a member of the NDC. If the NDC, as a political party who believes in building the people, doing development for them, if the NDC brings a project or a policy that is supposed to help the ordinary Ghanaian and push this country forward, I don't need to be bribed to go and sit in parliament to vote on it. Look at the amount of money we gave the Electoral Commission to conduct elections. Do we need to give MPs appearance fee to go to parliament? Are they footballers? We don't need to give MPs money before. Even when you go to parliament, there is a certain allowance that you take. So why are they giving some MPs or Adjoa Safo, alleged by Kennedy Japan, 120,000 whatever currency to appear in parliament? Have the MPP thought about the policy or the bill or the budget, the e-levy? Have they thought about how it's going to help this country? Why can't they dialogue? Why can't they convince their own that, Adjoa, this is something that we are doing to even help you and help your children and even your unborn children or your future generations? Why can't they talk through? Why can't they buy in? Why are they using money to allow MPs to appear? Why are they spending state resources to hire private jets for people who are, some went through surgery according to their own people, they have to come? Why? What is the e-levy about? If it's so good that is going to help us, why are they bribing people to come and support e-levy? Because this is total bribery. And as I said, I now understand why people are not talking in this country anymore as they used to talk during President Mahamad's term, where Reverend Mate and Co were calling for a Nyansafo to come and rule this country, Nyansafo. Now they are all quiet because the MPP strategy is we will not use the state resources to do any development as President Mahama was doing, but rather we will use it to shut people up. And Adjoa's case is a clear example. The Chief of Staff, I've not heard from her whether she's come to deny it. Adjoa hasn't spoken. So if I still stand by what Kennedy said, it means that they are bribing people with state resources to do the wrong things against the poor citizen of this country. So now my focus is not even on Adjoa or whoever is absent. But the point is that why do you use money to influence people to do the wrong thing? Why are they using state resources? Because I don't think the Chief of Staff used her own money to pay Adjoa to appear in Parliament. Why would the Chief of Staff leave? Look at the state of this economy. Look at the hardship we are going through. Look at the insults we are giving to government workers. A meager salary, increment of 4% and the rest. Lecturers are on strike. Students are stranded. The Chief of Staff did not have the peace of mind to sit in the office and work, but rather took a motorcade which was fueled by the state, took her car, fueled by the state, drove all the way to Adjingano Adwasafo's house, stood there. Look at the time. A chief of staff of Ghana who is supposed to work for a country, not a political party. So now look at how. So have you seen why Nanado is not able to name any meaningful project in the past 6 years? All he's using our resources for are to bribe people. So when they realize that you will be a problem and you will speak against them, then they pay you off, then you shut up. They are not going to work. Because I used to wonder why President Mahama was working day and night, the developmental projects, all the things that he was doing. Sena, and people were still criticizing and talking harshly. They were so blind to the development that was going on. All that they were doing was to attack his person, his party. And if I compare it to Nanado's 6 years now, the gentleman is virtually doing nothing. And those people, they've gone deaf. They can't see, they can't hear, they can't talk. But Kennedy has proven to me that this is the reason why. Because for Adwoa Safo not to appear in Parliament to vote on the negative e-levy, she has to be paid bribe. It means that all people who used to talk, who were against what is going on, that are quiet, who were so nationalistic, that love Ghana so much that they were always talking, are quiet now because they are using the chief of staff to pay them. Sena, so this is what we are using our resources for. When students are stranded, when lecturers are on strike, even when the court has instructed whatever, they have all voted against. That strike should continue. So when you keep on hearing things like this, they are paying party chairman 100,000 so he will resign so that a certain independent candidate can do business with you. This is what they are using our monies for, Sena. That is why the guys are not working. This is what they are using the monies for. If you talk, they pay you, then you keep quiet so that the ordinary Ghanaian suffers. Why will you use state resources to go and hire a private jet? When you're already complaining that the old man is spending on private jet, not knowing his ministers are also being treated the same. That is why, for national security reasons, we don't know how much the president is spending. Because ministers are being carried to. I even hear some had delivered for just 1 week because of e-levy. They have to say, now why? What is e-levy? What at all? The corruption is too much, and this is a clear example. Even within them, they cannot dialogue. They cannot come to a consensus. Nobody could speak to their own member of parliament that the party has funded and taken to parliament. They cannot use words, but rather use money. It tells you why the country is where it is now. It tells you why we are at a breaking point now. Because they don't even have that skill to negotiate. They don't even have that skill to talk to people. They cannot even convince people because they know all their policies and whatever they are doing are bad. Therefore, let's use money to buy our way through. Monies that are supposed to build desks for the ordinary Ghanaian students who is sitting on the bare floor, sitting under trees. Monies that are supposed to go into education, into health, into road construction. They are being shared among people within the New Patriotic Party to understand that an MP who originally takes certain allowance is being paid an appearance fee to go to Parliament. Sena, this is so sad. I have a friend who used to tell me that, Margot, these days, you people shouldn't talk anymore because Nanado has done all the job. Then I told him we can't still make assumptions because the ordinary Ghanaian must still know what is going on. Sena, this is so bad. If even MPs are being bribed, MPs of their own political parties, then they should tell you how well-meaningful people who want to do something better, who want to defend the ordinary Ghanaian, if you are not being harassed by the police or by false statements or whatever, by the judiciary or whatever, you are being paid to keep quiet. And at the end of the day, who suffers? Sena, it is the poor cocoa farmer at Seshiri also. It is the poor onion seller at the Malata market. It is the poor carpenter who cannot even get 3 square meal a day. That suffers. It is not Adwoa Safo. It's neither the chief of staff nor Kennedy Japan. Nobody suffers. It is the ordinary Ghanaian. So clearly, what I know is that I used to wonder why Nanado is not working, and I used to wonder where all the monies are. I used to wonder what they do with even the internally generated revenue. Sena Nanado has received over 20 billion from oil revenue alone. And I used to look around. I was thinking I could see another Akosomo Dam, an earth-shattering project that will blow the minds of Ghanaians, because Nanado has gotten so much, not knowing they use it to pay appearance fee for MPs to go and sit in parliament. So when Adwoa is reasonable enough to know that the e-levy is not going to help, so his party, her party to go to IMF, now they are all over, discrediting her. Is Adwoa Safo the only member of parliament who has an excuse or who is not feeling well, or whatever reason, and is not in parliament as we speak? Is she the only person because she's refused to condone to something that will hurt the ordinary Ghanaian? So you are discrediting her all over, saying all sort of things. Is it by force that you have to call an MP and she will not pick, and that one is a radio discussion? Sena, it's so appalling. And my dear Ghanaians, I think we now understand why Nanado is not working. The monies are being paid to people to shut up. The monies are being paid to people to harass people who can talk. The monies are being paid to people who used to call a Nyansafu to come and rule, because this is not the Nyansafu ruling. So now Reverend Mate is a pastor, and we've all been to church before. This is not the wisdom the Bible speaks about. How can a reasonable or a man full of wisdom rules and the people are suffering? So this is where the monies go to. So if MPs are receiving appearance fee, then journalists and those journalists who are bots, the police, the judiciary, whatever, it means that is where our monies are going. And Ghanaians must rise and speak to this. This is so bad, and is a clear act of corruption. And I think the special prosecutor should have an interest in this case. Thank you, Sena.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Margot, for setting the stage for us. So I'll come to Solo shortly. But before I do that, let me just do a few of the messages you're sending us already. This positive change from Medina, who says Akufo-Addo's government cannot provide textbooks for senior high school students. Same cannot provide even chalks for basic schools. A yet inflated budget for free SHS 2020-2021 academic year to the tune of 2.6 billion, which the finance minister is not able to account for. Ayu Farouk in Tamale says a good morning. Why only Adwoa Safo in the news? One other MPs are also regular absentees in parliament. We still don't want the e-levy, says Suleiman Abdul Rahim is also joining us and says a good morning to the father of journalism in Ghana, the Speaker of Parliament and Deputy Speaker who is supposed to give a final ruling on matters on the floor of Parliament. I think that's a question that I cannot understand. Yakub Dan Musa says nothing is alleged here, my dear. The Honorable MP swore on his mother's grave, so it has happened in a matter of fact. Abdul Salam Rufai says Adwoa Safo's absence of presence in Parliament can't make any difference on the e-levy passage. Ghanaians rejected e-levy, period. And for the records, why should the President fire Adwoa Safo when the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, said she, Adwoa, okay, I think he's denied that. Honestly, the behavior of Adwoa should be what the MP should be doing in this hung Parliament of 137 each. But the MPs have lost it. Suleiman Abdul Rahim says, I pray that some people would not go along and affect the innocent teachers, nurses, laborers, and other workers in the country. Bedu Kwame, okay, And there's some more. Samikwe says Russia's invasion of Ukraine will have indirect consequences on our economy, especially exorbitant crude oil prices. So it is time to support the visionary President Nana to approve e-levy to grow the economy. There is Patrick Kubesika who says the NDC parliamentarians have a lot to tackle. Tackle the Ajua imposter, tackle the chief of staff's case, and a bunch of corruption cases. They should hold the government accountable. Abdul Rahman Mawia says even if the 120,000 was Ghana cedis, that's about 1.2 billion old cedis, which is a lot of money. This clearly explains the silence of those opposed nationalists who were very loud during the JM era. There's Holala Mustafa says, I'm alleged, I have heard, okay, no. Yakub Dan Musa says, Sena, MPP is in a divisive state. Vice President not happy with what the President and his core family are doing. Honorable Kennedy is doing a nationalistic job. He can't be silent about the state of corruption. There is also Joseph Akapusiba Adams. Says, can you confirm the State of the Nation address is really postponed to further notice? Yes, that's what we've heard. It was supposed to come off on March 3rd, but the information given to Parliament is that they postponed it indefinitely. We are told by Honorable Apenyo Makins that they will dialogue with the presidency and agree on a date. So, indefinitely for now. Eriko Kusapenu says, Sena, good morning to you. The Nyansa are in power now. Ghanaians can clearly see the Nyansa on display. Joseph Akap, okay, this is list what we did. Okay. He is asking that the NDC communicators should list what the NDC did. Don't just say all things we did. What are those things? List them. It's important. That's how the MPP do. They'll repeat just one thing. They did many different ways to confuse Ghanaians. I hope I read your message well. Abdul Abasana, while we are using democratic means, I bet you, okay, some of them are serious allegations that you're making. James Akate says, good morning to us. And okay. Thank you very much for the messages you are sending to us. Let me jump to Soro. I'll be back.
Sena, thank you, and then good morning to fellow panel members. Let me first of all express my deepest, as it were, well wishes to the people of Ukraine, including Africans who are trapped in the war zone. We all did not see this coming, but as it has happened, our prayer is that no blood of African descent will be shed through a war that has nothing to do with Africa. On the brighter side of life, let me also thank the President for giving the indication that the Commander Sugar Factory will start operations in April of 2022. And whilst thanking the President, let me single out the Minister of Trade and Industry, Honorable Alan John Kojo-Tramantin, for doing a yeoman's job to make sure that indeed the Commander Sugar Factory starts operation. Something our predecessors could not do. It will be actualized, and Ghanaians will not see the cessation of operation of that company anymore, which will come in to solve our import bills on sugar. We have been complaining, and this is the time to deal with that problem once and for all. Now let me come back to the issue of board. I listened to my sister Margot. I thought she was going to be charitable to a female, as she herself is a female. But from the look of things, when it comes to politics, everything goes. And I'm wondering, now that she has taken the words of Kennedy and Japan as the gospel truth, if tomorrow Kennedy says something about the NDC, or by extension herself, listeners will also take it as the gospel truth. I mean, the principle of natural justice. Both parties must be heard. You cannot draw conclusions based on one-sided story. And to the extent that it suits her, and I do not begrudge her, I mean, if I were her, I would do the same thing. she rightly wrote at the back of Kennedy's pronouncements to draw conclusions to favor her political party. But that is a dangerous line that she could toe. Because if tomorrow Adjua came around and gave her side of the story to contradict whatever has been said, then people may be eating a humble pie. What are the issues? I've heard people say that Adjua according to Kennedy Japan, 120,000 was transferred to her. As we speak, there has not been any evidence in terms of receipt or bank statements showing that Adjua has received 120,000. As we speak, there is no evidence to the effect that the chief of staff led a convoy to Adjua home or house to wait for her for 35 minutes and said that you were doing a brilliant job. I don't know how you got the poem. You were, as it were, following sequentially. If I asked you your evidence, I'm sure you will still rely on Kennedy Japan's pronouncements without hearing the other side of the story. I will use this opportunity to also, as it were, talk directly to Kennedy Japan that some of the utterances gives communicators a lot of work to do. Other than that, what are we doing this morning? All that we have come this morning to do is to be discussing allegations. I don't remember the last time Adjua through an official communique, appointed Kennedy Japan as her spokesperson. And for that matter, anybody that takes the words of Kennedy Japan as the gospel truth will not be doing him or herself any good service, because it remains an allegation. But the truth of the matter is that we have to ask why we have gotten to this point in our lives as a new patriotic party. That is where, or that's what matters to me. Because when we had 169 seats, I'm sure a lot of MPs were absenting themselves from parliamentary duties. But because we had an overwhelming majority, some of these issues never came out. And so, one way or the other, we, the New Patriotic Party, we took things for granted in terms of how we organized our polling station elections, how we organized our electoral area elections, how we conducted constituency, regional and national elections, how we selected parliamentary candidates. Because we thought we had an overwhelming majority. So detailed and meritocracy were never the order of the day. We chose people and went into the 2020 elections, and Ghanaians punished us for our actions and inactions to the extent that we lost 31 seats. That is where the focus must be. We don't have to narrow all our problems onto Adjua. So, for instance, if tomorrow Adjua came and said, I was sick, I couldn't do anything, how are you going to force a sick person to come to parliament? So that is not the problem. The problem is that as a result of our actions and inactions prior to the 2020 elections, we were handed a heaviest defeat in parliament. And who were those that were responsible for those actions and inactions? That is what must address we, the New Patriotic Party members' attention, so that going forward we do not do things that will result in a hung parliament for us to be incurring the wrath of speaker as and when he moves out of the country, then everything comes at a standstill, as and when Adjua is out of parliament, then we are found wanting, and so on and so forth. Then we have started that process. So I will use this medium to advise those that are in the helm of affairs that what we did yesterday that resulted in this must never be repeated. And so that if polling station elections are due, you allow everyone to pick forms, you allow everybody that wants to contest without discriminating. That is the only way we could have a united front to battle any elections and to get overwhelming majority in parliament, so that we can, as it were, execute our mandate to the people of this country. I'm not too sure the people of this country have outrightly rejected the e-levy. At least I've heard Bishop Name, the Catholic Conference Bishop President, say that yes, in principle he agrees with the e-levy, and that he is of the opinion that if we started from 1%, it will help us. I have heard Dr. Abu Sakara say that is a good policy, but he was of the opinion that if we started from 0.5%, that will help us as a country. Because you see, the truth of the matter is that there is a hole, and we are not shy. We have not shied away from telling the people of this country the truth. There is a hole that has been orchestrated by something that we all know as COVID. That in a whole year, the country could not mobilize the much needed revenue to, as it were, execute the various projects that government needed to do. Government employees were in their homes. We paid them. People enjoy free water, including yourself. We paid for it. Electricity. We paid for it. People were fed both dry and hot meals. It came at a cost. Now the president vividly told the whole country during these difficult moments that we did not know how to bring people back to life, but we knew how to bring an economy back to life, and that is precisely what he's doing. And that if all of us helped in, as it were, creating the hole, we the same people must help in bridging the hole. And so the need for people to contribute. I'm surprised that the NDC is not telling their members the truth. In fact, the budget that is in parliament now, if you read paragraph 293, the government clearly stated its position that this year's budget, 2022, we were going to focus on revenue mobilization, locally, domestic revenue mobilization. What is the e-levy talking about? Is it not revenue, local, domestic revenue mobilization? So why did we go wrong? It is there, black and white. The budget estimate tells you that this year, our total expenditure will be in the region of 137 billion. Out of this 137 billion, revenue that we are supposed to mobilize across the country is 100 billion. So there is a budget deficit of 37 billion. Sena, how do we finance this 37 billion? That is the question agitating everybody's mind, and that is the reason why, as a government, you need to find all other means of mobilizing the resources to bridge the deficit. So government looks at the economy and sees where transactions are going on, and says, let me go and beg the people to levy them more in this sector, and that you will pay 1.75%. That is all this fight with. That people have blown it out of proportion to lambast government left, right, center, forgetting that when you are given the mandate to rule a country, you are sitting behind the wheels and know whether or not we are going into a ditch. The question is, if you are a government, would you sit down to go into a ditch only to be accused by the very people who are saying, don't go here, don't go here? Or you take the right decisions, no matter how bitter it is? I will opt for the second option, that we take the right decision, no matter how bitter it is, to safeguard the interest of this country. And so, if you look at our budget estimates, and I'm sure colleague panel members will agree, that only two line items takes our monies, revenues. Your interest payment and your compensation or your salaries. Is it the case that we still want to grow our interest payments by way of going to the international market or borrowing locally? Or we find ways and means, as it were, to get more or mobilize more revenue domestically so that we can reduce the interest payment we pay annually, thereby allowing government the space to undertake developmental projects. Every Ghanaian has a civic responsibility to pay taxes, and indeed we have to. If you look at our data, that only 8.2% of our population pays direct tax to cover all of us, 30 million, 30.8 million, then it's not fair. It falls short of the regional average, the sub-regional average. That we must not encourage. How do you call yourself a Ghanaian when you refuse to pay tax, yet enjoy the facilities here? We have to. Unfortunately for us, what has even aggravated the situation is what is happening in Ukraine now. I'm sure you know that world market price of oil has gone beyond 100. So it means more hardships are going to be visited onto us, not through our fault, but because we are in a globalized village, in the global world. And that whatever happens somewhere affects us. So we all must embrace it. So you see, we have to, as it were, decipher politics from real issues. And the real issues here is that as a country, we must have a baseline of things that we agree. I am here to hear the NDC, and I've asked these questions over and over again. I'm sure as Kwadwo is here or Mago is here, they'll help me. Is it the case that the NDC, as a government, as a party, let me say it, that given the opportunity to govern again, will not tax Ghanaians? Is that what they are telling us? Let them come clean. Or is it the case that taxation, when they come, under no circumstance they are going to add a single tax to the existing taxes that we have, so that it's on record? But just coming out to tell the people, the good people of this country, that we are not going to pay yentia, that is the most weakest argument or demonstration I've ever heard. If you understood the Twi language very well and you told the world that yentia, it means you have the money, but unwillingly you won't pay. Hey, paying money for us to develop the country, you are as a political party, and this is the first time I'm seeing a political party engage in demonstration directly, not through any civil societies, directly. The NDC said they organized the entire demonstration against a government embarking on its rightful mandate. They did it. Yentia. So tomorrow, if you had the opportunity to come and we also begin to take you on your own deeds, where will this country go? Because we are building a country. Let me say that the members of parliament across board, both the NDC and MPP, once you are elected as a member of parliament, you do not belong to any of the parties. You belong to Ghana. Let us do what is right in the eyes of the people. Let us do what will safeguard this country. If you know the truth, I'm surprised. The first time this e-levy issue came, the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, having been briefed, told the world that he agreed that indeed we have to start from 1%. What happened? What was he told for him to accept the position that we must start from 1%, to later dismiss it entirely? We have not asked those questions. Is it on the altar of politics? Or later he saw something different that he had to rescind his decision, and he has seen something different? Why is he not coming back to tell us the reasons behind his shift of position? Now we are all going on. So, Sena, there is nothing, as it were, to take serious about this Adwoa Safo issue, except for political capital, except it suits our brothers and sisters in the NDC that, hey, Kennedy Japan has said so, and so is the gospel truth. And I'm so happy, so happy that I've heard a lot of communicators from the NDC run by these allegations from Kennedy Japan. Hey, Kennedy said this is the gospel truth. We would accept it in our strides, except that tomorrow, when there are statements from Kennedy Japan, we do not expect the NDC to come back and tell us that, hey, this one is not true. You cannot pick and choose. You would be measured by your own deeds within this frame, as my sister has done. That she's rightly, to the extent that she is impugning corruption. Granted, the money, the 120,000 was even sent. What shows is corruption. Granted, the chief of staff sent 120,000. Is the chief of staff not being paid? Do you know for a fact that the money is not coming from her own pocket? Has the Auditor General reported that any monies are missing because 120,000 was paid to Adwasafu? But like I said, I won't blame her because it is politics. And with this, I'll end my submission.
Thank you. Thank you. Just that when I was talking about it, I said there were allegations by Kennedy Ejepon. I also said that Apejo Makins had the opportunity and he refused to comment on them. And don't forget, they have an ample time to also respond to the issues that were raised.
So that's what
they haven't said anything.
We are discussing an allegation. And to the extent that we are discussing an allegation, it means you believe the allegations, and for that we must run with the allegation.
Not necessarily.
Because we have not heard the other side.
Allegation is not true. You have the opportunity to use the same platform to respond.
It's two parties, Adwasafu, and then someone making allegations against Adwasafu. I am yet to hear from Adwasafu. And until the time that I will hear from Adwasafu to validate or invalidate, I have no reasonable justification to draw that conclusion based on one-sided story. I won't, because many a times politicians and for that matter innocent people have been accused wrongly in this country.
It's not only Adwasafu, the chief of staff. Anyway, thank you.
You understand? So if tomorrow it turns out to be a different story, how are we going to handle the matter?
Don't worry, when we get there. Thank you. Sapi Agbo says, wow, does Sulu want to imply that Kennedy Ejepon is a liar? Does he want Ghanaians to disregard allegations by Kennedy Ejepon and treat them with contempt? Kennedy Ejepon mentioned explicitly the name of Frema, the chief of staff, as the person who gave him the money to deposit in her account. Why hasn't the chief of staff come out to deny the allegations? Franklin Natis says, I paid the electricity bill throughout the COVID-19. I had no free electricity. It's a shame you can lie through your teeth. I have the receipt to prove him wrong. We wouldn't pay any e-levy. Abdurrahman says, oh mankind, now COVID has been bailed out by Ukraine crisis. Why? There is a Berima Ali Wahab says, I won't be surprised if some MPP members don't give chop money to their wives and children in the name of COVID. Enochu is joining us. Says, and you, my friend, is sweating to defend your party. E-levy, Yen Tuyada. There's Suleiman Abdurrahman, who is coming from Tamale, says, I pray that some people, okay, I think I've read that message. Foley Mensan says, we paid for the water we used during that 3 months. I can send you my receipts. You guys shouldn't take us for fool. We won't pay you levy. There is also Kobla, who says, Solomon, you have heard from 2 people, and you think that serves the mind of 30 million. Honestly, Solomon, you have begun to insult us. And said, but not so soon. Let's wait for the productions to start first. What has happened to the hospital's promise? I think that one was on the Commander Sugar Factory, which you talked about. Bernard K. Abua says, to ask people to pay more taxes, simply asking them to sacrifice. So why can't the president do same? There's also Monday William Jikunu says, Sena, the MPP guy in your studio, thanking Alan and Anaiko Fuado government for destroying Commander Sugar Factory. Now, how much it costs the country to put the factory back to use? Victor Adiantia says, COVID free water and electricity. Where is the money given to the Ghana government? Kwesi Asiedubwedi says, shouting doesn't mean he... Okay. You want e-levy and you are talking as if the money in our mobile wallet belongs to you. Kwame Nakoja says, ask the MPP man whether Nanado has planted the needed sugar cane. He said GM didn't do before refurbishing the factory. Patrick Edu says, who has complained about tax payment? If it has not become obvious that our taxes are being misused and stolen in people's pockets. Benjamin Admata says, Harun's Idrisu's 1% on e-levy was his personal opinion. Haruna was not representing the NDC at that point. Sam Hammond says, the MPP man now saying, because the NDC is accepting what Kennedy said, so everything Kennedy says should be accepted. Frederick Amegbe says, our president says he's going to cancel some taxes and move the country from taxation to production. So why are you protecting their words?
Yes, good morning to all the august listeners of Alhaji and Alhaji. It's once again a pleasure to be here. I don't know how old Solo is, because he just made a comment that for the first time in this country, a political party sponsored a demonstration not to pay taxes. And my jaw dropped, because right in this studio is one of the sponsors of the Kumi Preku match. Right here. So maybe he himself will correct you. But we said Yentuya. You said Kumi Preku. Yentuya means we won't pay. Kumi Preku means kill me, if you will. Kill me now. I don't know. Anyway, maybe he's still too young to remember. So, but the curious case of Adwoa, where do I start? Because the Adwoa case gives us so many angles to remove the veil of the corrupt kakistocracy that this government is. You see, for a long time, many of us have suspected that this government is a government of racketeers and pillagers who have simply been pillaging the resources of this country. Oftentimes, you have had some sort of anecdotal evidence with which we crow about and say we have this, we have that, and this. But after Kennedy Japan's expose, which by the way has not been contradicted by a single person, Sena, given this government's disposition of reset, where they can even invite a pastor who prophesied about an imaginary country 2 months after the fact. Imagine if what Kennedy Japan said was false. Imagine if I said it. Where would I be by now? If you said it, where will you be by now? So I am unequivocally saying on authority that Kennedy Japan was not lying. And if they like, they should come and arrest me for publishing the false truth about what Kennedy Japan said. Kennedy Japan was specific. He said he went, no, wait, let me go back. He said the chief of staff called me. I went to her office. She gave me 120,000. Whether it was cedis, whether it was leaves, whether it was pebbles, dollars, pounds, or Ukrainian rubles, he deposited that money in Adwoa Sabo's Fidelity account. That is specific information. He went on to say Adwoa Safo was brought back to this country on a private jet. When she arrived, she went and barricaded herself in her house, refused to come out, which occasioned the chief of staff taking a motorcade to her house, ostensibly to speed her into parliament. This is Kennedy Japan, right? He further said that the chief of staff spent a total of 65 minutes, 35 outside, 30 inside, to try to get Adwoa Safo. But Adwoa Safo didn't come. And reasonable people are beginning to ask again. So who was that person in parliament? You see? He who the gods will kill. You know what they first do to them? And clearly, Kennedy Japan has said something that everybody knows is true. It is a damning allegation against the chief of staff. It is a serious allegation against the chief of staff. Look, you are asking us to pay money, more money. The overburdened Ghanaian taxpayer is already being asked to pay monies that they don't have. And you are telling us, Kennedy Japan is telling us what they are doing with the money that they collect. Many of us have protested the addition of more money, an extra 600 million cedis to the monies that go to the office of government machinery. And these are the things that they do with the money. So, Solo, when we say Yentia, we are on terra firma. Because the government of Ghana spends more money in its presidency than the White House of the United States of America. This government has allocated itself more money to spend willy-nilly in the presidency than the White House. Ghanaians, listen to me. The United States of America is the most powerful and the richest country in the world. The president of the United States controls a nuclear arsenal that has over 4,000 warheads. The president of the United States presides over a budget that is $20 trillion. And yet, he doesn't spend as much money in the presidency of the White House as this government does. 3.25 billion at the time they allocated the money is $560 million in one calendar year. So somebody should ask them, what the hell is wrong with you? What is wrong with you people? And then you come and tell us we should pay more levy. More levies to add to the levies we're already paying. And Adwa Safo is clearly saying, I'm not doing it. Because I see something wrong with it. For whatever reason that Adwa Safo is doing what she's doing, that there are claims that she says she wants the deputy majority leader position back, that she is upset that she sacked Mrs. Kwashiga and the president instructed her to reinstate her. And these are all things that Kennedy Japan said. Listen, let's not forget that Kennedy Japan has 2 children with Adwa Safo. So what he said was not said from a position of being uninformed. If you have had 2 children with a woman, you pretty much know her. You know her inside out. Naked and clothed. You know everything. So, the notion that somehow or the other we shouldn't believe what Kennedy Japan is saying, Solo, with all respect, you are a drowning man and you are clutching at straws. I can understand. But as far as we are concerned, as far as the populace of this country is concerned, there may not even be 2 people who know Adwa Safo more than Kennedy Japan. Kennedy Japan said, I took 120,000 something, maybe pieces of silver, and deposited it in Adwa Safo's Fidelity account. Look, lest you may not realize that is something that the law enforcement authorities should be looking at. Because one, it is reasonable to assume that the money that was deposited is state money. Adwa Safo is an MP. She's paid. And if we are in the business of offering inducements to the people who we have elected, with all the perks that they get that we are decrying, we have to induce them to go and sit in parliament to do what it is we are paying them to do already. There's a case for the law enforcement agencies to be looking at. Because this is a country where, as we speak today, Honorable Atufo Sena has been hauled to court for the most frivolous of charges. He's defending himself in that ambulance matter. There are all kinds of other issues, which are all kinds of other prosecutions, which in my view are politically motivated. But in this case, Kennedy Japan has told us. Nobody has refuted it. I would have loved a swift statement from the Chief of Staff's office saying what Kennedy Japan said is not true. It hasn't come. So why are you telling us not to believe Kennedy Japan? And you, as a senior member of the communication team of the MPP, why haven't you taken Kennedy Japan on? When Babe Samoa tried, he was told that he was a failed lawyer. So perhaps you don't want any blowback from Kennedy Japan. But none of you have been brave enough to challenge his assertion. So why are you sitting here telling us that we shouldn't take him serious? Do you want me to call him and tell him that you said we shouldn't take him serious? After this show, I'll call him. I'll tell him you said we shouldn't take him serious. And see what happens next. He will deal with you on Monday morning, sharp. He will tell everybody what he has given you. Right? He will tell everybody the kinds of, maybe even this nice attire you are wearing, even this nice attire you are wearing, he sold it for you. Maybe he will tell us. Adwa Safo has, you see, Adwa Safo is a victim in all this. I don't know why you are asking her to speak. First of all, Adwa Safo has not even told us that she has even been into a bank account to see the money. Right? Adwa Safo has not told us that she's even accessed her bank account. Kennedy Japan said he went to put the money in her bank account. And for all you know, Adwa Safo, being the upright citizen she wants to be, has even not been into that bank account. She's a victim in all this. Look, Adwa Safo is clearly not well. I can't tell what is wrong with her. But at the very least, her privacy should have been respected. Seeing that the very person who is accusing her of not being in parliament himself has flouted the 15-day parliamentary rule. But you see, in the MPP, you need to be very careful. I feel very sorry for you. Because in the MPP, even a woman you have had children with is fair game. And that is shocking. For me, as a man sitting here, I find it shocking that a man who has had 2 children with a beautiful woman like Adwa Safo an upright person, a lawyer, an MP, somebody who, despite her family origins, has made a name for herself, independent of her parents, is dragged into the mud by somebody who should know better. And you sit here and you defend it. Yeah, you are defending it. You are telling us we shouldn't take with one breath. We don't take him serious. Man, why are you saying? Why are you saying? God Kennedy Japan is saying. Kennedy Japan gave you facts. He gave you the color of the facts. He gave you times, places, and dates. It hasn't been refuted. And you're sitting here saying we shouldn't take him serious. Why shouldn't we take him serious? And you said that, and you made a very startling comparison that it's an allegation. Why are we taking it serious? Where were you when the MPP took Manasseh Azuri Awuni's allegations against John Mahama in the Idrissa Kanazoe matter and took it to the high hills? Even diplomats, the British High Commissioner in this country, was standing on the rooftop accusing the president of misconduct. Where were you? Subsequently, even after Shraj found President Mahama not guilty of all the charges that Manasseh Azuri Awuni, you people are still trumpeting it. Today, you still talk about Idrissa Kanazoe and Ford Explorer. Ford Explorer. And you are sitting here telling me that sebi apopotiti fin so ase aba be catch so dentem yemu hwia na wo pese me de mensa ko so dentem enum hwese ne yemu hwia na. No, I mean, I said there aren't two people who know Adjasafo better than Kennedy Japan. Because at the very least, it's morning TV. I don't want to go pornographic. You see, let's go back to the issues. There is a dictatura in this country that is not just a dictatura, it is a kakistocracy. It is a kleptocracy, and they are stealing our money. Right? The Ghanaian people are up in arms against any more taxes because of things like this. As we speak today, you people, with your with the connivance of the second deputy speaker, are refusing to allow an audit of COVID funds because you know what you've done with the money. You know you can't account for the funds. And we will get there. But the real reason why you are refusing to go to IMF is because you are afraid of an audit of the COVID funds. The $2 billion that the IMF gave you, you know they are going to ask for an audit. Some of the money went into sowing, 600 million went into PPE. And anybody who knows anything about those PPE contracts know that they became second and third hand contracts where for want of a better example, Solo gets the contract. Solo doesn't know anything about PPE. He can't even spell PPE, but he gets the contract. So Solo goes to give it to Kojochu Mwafu. Kojochu Mwafu knows somebody called Mago who does hold on. Who does PPE? By the time all was said and done, it had gone down about 2 or 3 iterations. So that is why we ended up expending 600 million. Per their own, it's in the budget, my friend. 600 million cedis on PPE for school children. And the school children are all walking around with their mouths wide open. Where's the PPE? What I am saying is that the corruption in this country has taken an alarming toll. It has been further exacerbated by COVID corruption. And for that reason, you are afraid to be accountable accountable to the Ghanaian. But as for accountability, you will never get away. For how long? For how long are you going to remain unaccountable? How long is your wife going to shield you from being accountable? Let's just say that the NDC was being chicaneous and you had nothing to hide. So prove to us and use it as a political plaudit that we have nothing to hide. This is it. Everything's on the up and up. But it was blocked because you are afraid of what is going to be found out. Why? Every time there has been any form of an audit, since this parliamentary audit, since this government came to power, what we have found out is shocking details of corruption that will make the most corrupt human beings even buckle at the knees. What happened with the cash for seeds matter? Oh, please, Mami. What happened with the Kwekwajima Menu saga? And in all this, the people who perpetuate those acts of corruption are still in place. Indeed, the health minister's excuse, his public excuse for flouting the laws of this country and the constitution of this republic, was that he was confused. But you know what? Alhaji was confused. Alhaji, he was confused. Combien was confused. Potentially, everybody who commits a crime is confused at the moment in which they commit the crime. And to add insult to injury, the president goes to his hometown and he said, the president found this jokula. He found this as a joke, that his health minister has flouted the constitution of this republic. A man who himself was a former member of parliament found that, no, I'm talking about a president. For 12 years he was in parliament, found flouting the laws of this country, found it as a joke. This is the same man who was going to protect our public purse. Remember? Ghana. Social comedy. If you find flouting the laws of the Republic of Ghana by your ministers as something for which you go to his hometown to go and joke about, what does that make you? And when you say it, you know, I'm still, every now and then, I slap myself to try and remember whether I was in this country in the preamble to the 2016 election. And I ask myself what would have happened in this country if the then health minister of Ghana had done what Kwekwajima Menu did. And the result that we would have gotten. Mind you, Kwekwajima Menu is a trained auditor. He is indeed one of the finest auditors in this country, lest you forget. He has sterling credentials as an auditor. How did we get here? Because we have a certain permissivity with corruption and downright criminal behavior within this government, and nobody's account is asked to account for it. So Adwoa Safo, seeing things that she didn't like and refusing to be part thereof, a young lady whose father is a pastor, who may have been brought up in a way in which she sees right is right and wrong is wrong, so she doesn't want to be part of something, has now become canon fodder for even the man for whom she has had children with. So if you're in the MPP and you are listening to me, in the MPP, even the people that you have children with, you are not safe from. You know, in the 1940s, Soviet leader Stalin arrested the wife of his foreign minister, Molotov, and put her in jail. He put her in the gulag. Molotov was out of the country when it happened. When he came back and he ran to his boss and asked, I hear your people have arrested my wife. What did she do? You know his response? Don't worry, we'll find you a new wife. And to Kennedy, Japan. Let me just wrap up by saying, you know, what you did was really uncool. What you did was not cool. For the sake of your children, what you did was uncool. You see, smoking your own supply is not a good business model. What you did was uncool. And you should be apologizing to that woman and apologizing to your children. That is not what our mothers trained us to do. In the name of politics, don't put out your family on a pallet for people to feed off of. Because now that you have done this, the vultures are out. And I must confess, I'm one of them. We are hovering over the carrion, and we will peck it until the bones are bleached. But whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? Sena, I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you. If you just join us, this is the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. A big thank you to you. Just a few of your messages, but first of all, let me acknowledge Hills FM and Niwasi Radio in Ketekrati. We are live on Pan-African Television. If you're also tuning to us as a radio station, you can draw attention. We will acknowledge you. A big thank you to Shine FM in Akachi. A very big thank you to Sela Radio in Dabala. Joe Banson says, which should be of biggest concern to us as a nation? Over 7 months absence from ministerial duty, over 15 days of parliamentary absence. Who shall crack the whip? Joseph Tekpe says the MPP man should stop blaming COVID. He's even spoiling the matter. Brahma Alale Wahab says MPP things are falling apart, hence the center cannot hold any longer. Eric Okusefanu says this MPP man should stop insulting our intelligence. He is a praise singer, not speaking to the issues. It will take monies to refurbish the factory and make it optional. Mayo Extra says the hardest job in Ghana right now is being an MPP communicator. Nelate says it's about time the NDC realize that they are dealing with an organization led by Kufuor and not a political party. There's Mande William Jikunu again, who says if crude oil prices is as high as 2014, then what is wrong with the price? Or is it bad management of the economy? There's also Ajura Najo, who says who should contribute to your corrupt practices, luxury lifestyle, and profligacy lifestyle of our president. You do not qualify. I'm incompetent to be helped by. Your government is incompetent to be helped by Ghanaians. Ulala Mustafa says I'm a legend. No, I think I jammed that message earlier. Prosper Praise says the most painful part of it is cheating someone and still hurting the person, like the MPP government is doing to the ordinary Ghanaian. Steve North says, please complete the amendment of our 1992 Constitution. Late President Mills has started to minimize political prosecutions and maximize efficiency in public services. Those are some of the messages you are sending to us via Facebook. This is from Dennis Iakwete, who says, an expatriate Catholic Reverend Father, Jonathan, formerly of the Queen of Peace Parish, Medina, was right when he said, now in spite of the huge number of Christians today, evil in all forms continues to triumph so badly because, quote, Christians have not yet become Christians yet. Put it differently, can you believe what the moral society would have said if the said allegation about private jets combined with 120,000 happened under President John Mahama, not to remind ourselves, for instance, about Vicky Hammer's $1 million incidents. We are indeed at the lowest point, and only nature can properly answer our calls for the sake of posterity. Shamefully distasteful to say the least. That's Dennis Iakwete Who sent that? This one says the e-levy policy is bogus and fraudulent and must be resisted with all arsenals. Let them impose it on us. We will simply not pay. There's more. Okay, says good morning. What is the NPP communicator saying? Government is being resisted by NDC not to carry out its mandatory duties by approving nuisance tax like e-levy. Unbelievable. I wonder how people think. The taxes that we even pay are not being used judiciously. Paying people who are supposed to talk not to talk. The falsehood that is being speculated wouldn't have the e-levy pass. Without the e-levy, free SHS will be cancelled. Salaries wouldn't be paid. Road contractors and development will come to a halt. E-levy is not classified as any form of taxation in Ghana. We won't pay. Musa Abatwa is also joining us from Kumasi. Sena, bribing Adjoa Safo to appear in Parliament in order to pass e-levy is a wicked venture. If they believe with all honesty without malice, e-levy is going to help the economy and not an individual group of people. Why is Akufo-Addo bringing peace? Wapenyomakin to use Ukraine and Russian tension as a yardstick to justify why e-levy should be passed is short of ideas and lack of policy credibility. Thank you very much. Let me end with Hadi in Pig Farm, who says an economy which has swallowed over 400 billion in 5 years is now relying on e-levy as a lifeline. The only reason this family and friends government are bent on passing the e-levy at all costs is to use it for the collateral to borrow more for their wasteful expenditure. Since the family and friends government is trying to steal from our pockets in the name of e-levy, no police officer should arrest any pickpocket who is doing same as Hekel and Makola. Thank you for the messages you are sending to us. Mr. Pratt.
Well, I think it's important first and foremost to note that this whole controversy about Adjoa Safo, Honorable Adjoa Safo, has serious ramifications for many sectors of governance. And I think it's important to explore them. Because if we do explore them, it will make us conscious of our current reality. And it will also bring to the fore the fact that our current approach can only lead us to total disaster. First of all, I must state that I'm in full agreement with the gender movement that discussions of Adjoa Safo and so on ought to be carefully done. You see, not many women in our country have managed to jump over the gender barrier. The gender barrier will still insist on keeping women in the kitchen. The gender barrier will still insist on confining women to factories for the production of children. And because not many women have jumped over this barrier, it becomes important that when we are discussing these issues, we do so with utmost sensitivity. Now, we can park that aside. What are the issues being discussed? I think the most important issue being discussed today is the functioning of Parliament. How can government get its budget, its projects, and so on through Parliament for approval or with approval? That's basically what we're discussing. All the other issues are tangential. The reality is that we went for elections, and after the elections, the governing party, New Patriotic Party, lost as many as 31 seats. That's the reality. The New Patriotic Party in that election lost 31 seats. What happened? What did they do wrong? Or what did the opposition do right? If a governing party in a 275-seat parliament loses 31 seats, it's a huge statement. It's a huge statement. It's a huge statement about the competence of those who manage that political party. It's a huge statement about how people see the government, whether it is delivering on its promises or not. It's a huge statement about the order, the democratic order. All of these are being ignored. And we are concentrating on Adwa Safo, whether the money was for the child's birthday or it was for... Those are tangential issues. We are in this state because the New Patriotic Party went for an election and lost 31 seats. Now, this discussion is important because the party is going to elect a new leadership. The party is going to Congress and so on. This must feature prominently in the discussions of who will lead the New Patriotic Party at all levels now. The party lost 31 seats. How many more seats is the party going to lose in the next election? Is the party likely to gain some more seats? Who caused it? Was it incompetence on the part of the leaders? What happened? That's a matter which needs to be interrogated. Now, I'm saying that we are where we are because they lost 31 seats. And because they lost 31 seats, we do have a situation in which the majority has 37 seats and the minority has 37 seats.
137.
Sorry, 137 seats. The majority has 137 seats and the minority has 137 seats. Now, what kind of arithmetic is this? What kind of voodoo mathematics is this? Well, you have 137, 137, and yet one of them is the majority and one of them is the minority. Voodoo arithmetics. But this voodoo arithmetics has led us to this situation. You see, this concept of so-called majority rule, this whole idea of a minority versus a majority in parliament is dead. And the earlier we realize that, the better. This jumping over fences and so on to create a majority out of nothing, using voodoo arithmetics and so on, that doesn't help anybody. Because the reality is that today, for government business to receive approval in parliament, we are told that offers of private jets are made to some parliamentarians. Private jets. We are told that for government business to receive approval in parliament, huge amounts of monies are paid to parliamentarians and so on. And it still doesn't work. In spite of all the effort, in spite of the effort of private jets, in spite of the payment of monies and so on, the e-levy has still not been approved. It is not working. That's the truth. It ain't working. Now, isn't it time for national leaders to put on their thinking caps and begin to find how we can move this country forward? Now, yesterday, I saw a video of the Right Honorable Alban Bagbin, Speaker of Parliament, warning that in 3 months' time we will not be able to pay workers. Why? Today, we only manage to pay workers because we are borrowing. If we don't borrow, we can't pay workers. In fact, if we don't borrow, when we get foreign visitors in the Flagstaff House, we cannot serve them with a cup of tea. If we don't borrow, we can't put petrol in the car of the president. If we don't borrow, we can't do FOCO in this country. That's our reality. You understand? Now, when we are in a situation where government cannot do FOCO without borrowing, we've got to be putting on our thinking caps. When we are in a situation when the governing party has lost 31 seats, you've got to be looking for other ways of doing government business. That is where we are. You understand? This whole idea of bulldozing their way through, this whole idea of doing as they please and so on, it has failed. It is not working. It will never work. So the strategy of waiting for the Speaker of Parliament to get out of his chair, putting in the first Deputy Speaker to go and overturn the decisions of the Speaker, won't work. Because you have to kill the Speaker. Master, you have to kill the Speaker. If you don't kill the Speaker, he will get out of the chair and he will come back into the chair. And when he comes back into the chair, he can reverse the decisions of the first Deputy Speaker. Indeed, even the decisions of the first Deputy Speaker can be contested in competent jurisdictions and so on. So it doesn't work. It's a very lazy option. What we need to do is to sit down and build a national consensus. What we need to add is compromise on both sides. What we need to do is to mobilize the entire population to point to the way forward in such a manner that political parties can no longer determine the path of development of this country. That's what we need to do. These childish tricks, and they are indeed extremely childish tricks, they have never worked anywhere and they are not going to work in Ghana. But Sena, do you know what the problem is? The problem is that to build national consensus, to get both sides to agree on the way forward, requires a certain caliber of leadership. To do that, you need a more mature leadership. You need a leadership which is focused on the national good. You need a leadership which is able to rise above reckless partisanship. You need a leadership which is thinking outside the box. Now, if you are not achieving that now, it means that this country has not gotten that leadership yet. So to a very large extent, what is happening is also a failure of leadership. What's happening is a failure of leadership. Look, what are some of the solutions that we have seen? Beyond offering to pay for private jets and depositing money in people's bank accounts and so on, what are some of the other things that we have seen? Marching church leaders. Marching church leaders under trot to go and meet with former President John Mahama has become a strategy. What has that achieved? In any case, who said that church leaders can decide our destiny? Who said that church leaders, their role is even to explain taxation and so on? Their role is to pray. Let them go and bow down and pray. Why? When the Akosombo Dam was having problems and so on, what did they do? They went there and poured holy water into the dam and prayed. All of us know what the outcome was. You understand? It is not their business to be discussing e-levy. Especially when they themselves have resisted over the years the call on them to pay taxes, when they themselves have resisted the call by a section of society that the churches should be paying taxes. Now they don't want to pay. But Kofi and Amma and Akwesi and Akresi and so on, they should go and pay e-levy. What a joke. In any case, who said that former presidents are the people who decide how parliament should vote? Who says so? They should go to former President Kufuor and tell him that things are hard in parliament and that he should intervene. What is this? It's not working. It has not worked, it's not working, and it won't work. We need to build national consensus on these matters. Sena, you know, sometimes inconsistencies at certain levels are shocking. Because we expect that you and I, we can be inconsistent. It doesn't have much impact on anybody and so on. But when there's inconsistency at the level of the presidency, we are in big trouble. Look, it was the presidency, or if you like, the president, who decided that Adwoa Safo was incapable of working as a minister. You remember? And they actually granted a leave of absence. They granted a leave of absence initially, I think, for 1 month. And then they came back and extended it. Now, the people who decided that Adwoa Safo could not work, for whatever reason, the public speculation is that she's not well. I won't go there. I don't know that for a fact. But for whatever reason, they decided that she could not work and therefore she would go and stay home. The same people who decided that she was in conditions which did not enable her to work are insisting that as for her parliamentary duty, she should go and do it. How, why? How, why? How, why? Are we saying that parliamentary duties are less strenuous than ministerial duties? And where is the empirical evidence? I've seen members of parliament go to parliament in the morning, leave parliament house after midnight. So if she is sick and she's incapable of working as a minister, which is much more relaxed, how do they expect her to go and sit in parliament and work? I don't know. But interestingly, there have been calls for her removal as a member of parliament. After you have lost 31 seats, and you are clinging to it's not a majority, to a fictional majority to survive, you are going to trigger a by-election in Domi Kwabena? God help them. I've already heard some members of the party who are already saying that they would stand for the party. Oh my goodness, let them stand for the party and wait for the results of the elections. Fortunately, there has been some empirical assessment of the chances of parties and individuals in that constituency. And I'm sure that all of you have seen that empirical analysis. You understand? And all of you have seen that the empirical analysis is that if there is a by-election in Domi Kwabena, hey, it will be like that proverb about who can go through the needle of the eye of the needle. If I like, tell me. Lose Domi Kwabena and see whether you will continue to have 137 in parliament. Lose Domi Kwabena and see. I don't think that that's a sensible, feasible proposition for a government struggling to push its business through parliament. But some have been so incensed, they are so angry, they want to see the back of Adwoa Safo, they are insisting that let's go for a by-election. many people would welcome that by-election with both arms. Let's try it. It may help. It may help seal the destiny of not just the New Patriotic Party, but of our country. It will be a beautiful challenge. Bring it on. Let Adwasafu lose a seat. Let's see what is going to happen. In any case, there are some in Parliament, including the Honorable Okujato Ablakwa, who are saying that for the same reasons that Adwasafu is being pushed to lose a parliamentary seat, at least there are 2 other members of Parliament who will suffer the consequences. So we are going to be having 3 by-elections. Oh my goodness, what a pretty political scene we are going to have very soon. 3 by-elections in this situation? Oh, God help the New Patriotic Party. Hey, 3 by-elections? Hey, Asamaba. Let them push it. But you see, Sena, it doesn't end there. There are other dimensions that we should be looking at. So many other dimensions that we ought to be looking at. Since this e-levy problem came up, and so on, have you heard of any attempt to push through any government business needing parliamentary approval? And do you know why? Because the numbers are not good. If we accept the current numbers as numbers which are present in Parliament and will continue to be present in Parliament, there's still a problem. There is still a problem because a sitting member of Parliament who happens to be a minister is so indisposed that no matter what they do, he cannot be in Parliament. They can't put him on a stretcher and send him to Parliament. It is not possible. Private jet cannot help him. You can't put him in a private jet and take him into the Chamber of Parliament. It's not going to happen. And because that sitting member of Parliament who happens to be a minister is so seriously indisposed, even if you add the independent to the MPP numbers, it becomes 137, 137. The rules are clear. If you vote and it's 137, 137, government has lost. So simply on account of the indisposition of this sitting member of Parliament, government is in big trouble. They can't get anything passed through Parliament. That is the reality of our situation. But that is not all, my brother. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, I heard the Honorable Kennedy Ohene Ejapon make the point that he's not well too. That indeed his medical review in the United States is overdue by 1 month. I know that Honorable Kennedy Ejapon loves his party. I want to assume that he loves Ghana. He wants to sacrifice, to build Ghana and so on. But he made a statement which is critical, that he doesn't want to die. That he has waited, he has taken the risk of waiting for 1 month. He doesn't want to die. So he will go for the medical review. And he says that if he goes for the medical review, he ain't coming back. What I understood that to mean is that he's not coming back until the doctors okay he's coming back. So just in case the Honorable Kennedy Ohene Ejapon decides to go for his medical review, what would the numbers be? 137 versus 135. How long is that situation going to last? So this recklessness of insisting on the majority when the majority is not there is not in the best interest of the government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. It is not in the best interest of the New Patriotic Party, and it is not in the best interest of Ghana. This is the reality. We'll be discussing the state of the national economy very soon. So I will leave my comments on how this whole situation impacts on the state of the national economy. But we are reaching a stage where we are all locking ourselves into a bind. A bind which will squeeze us to death if we do not immediately get leaders who are humble enough to accept the current reality. We are rushing into a bind in which we will be crushed to death if we do not get leaders who have the skills and the capacity to negotiate a national consensus. We are rushing into a bind which will crush us to death if this country does not immediately, and I mean immediately, get leaders who can rise above the reckless and unhelpful partisanship and bring us together as a Ghanaian people struggling to get out of the hole, struggling to get out of an economic abyss of hopelessness. This is where we are, and this is the truth about the state of Ghana.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Now, let me do a few of your messages. Just when we were talking about the church leadership, then Solo pleased the Daily Graphic that says that plain spoken engagement, Council of State meets minority, consensus building high on agenda. So it's not only the church leaders who are meeting the minority. The Council of State has joined. There is Imperial Majestic. Mr. Sena, I want to suggest that an Alhaji radio should be developed more of the time. The affiliate radio stations fail as any time. It's time for the program. Okay, and he mentioned some radio stations are not on the internet. Yes, most of the radio stations are not. Dan Silva Tete says, please, is the MPP trying to tell us that the budget they brought to Parliament for the year 2022 from the first page to the last page is e-levy? And when it's not passed, they can't work? Wow. There's Patrick Kubesika says, who is that sitting member of Parliament who is critically sick? Okay. Unfortunately, because when he was saying it, I wish I was in the position to interrogate that further. Imperial Majesty, and I want to suggest, okay, I think he's made that suggestion over and over again. There are some of you are suggesting that we should own our own rate. Dennis Rimpon says, NDC think they are sensible in opposition. If you did better, you would not have been voted out. NDC are the cause why Ghanaians are suffering under MPP. NDC cannot do any better. Let's just think. Roxundo says, if airport tax collection, Bola tax collection, talk tax collection couldn't be well managed by MPP government, how else can e-levy become the key to our program, to our problem? Imran Latif says, please tell Kojo that I admire him a lot. And I want to, okay, he's asking for your number. George Emerson, is it Dojidenu says, what is happening in Ghana's governance is total indiscipline in the executive, legislature, judiciary, traditional, moral society, and civil society, which is cascaded into the whole citizenry. There's more. Let me jump to Benjamin Edumata, who says, when Ghana was facing a national electricity problem known as Doomsor, President Mahama invited all stakeholders, political parties, including the then opposition MPP party, to look for ideas that could solve the situation. That was when we needed consensus. The MPP led by Nanado refused to take part in the decision making. The MPP led by Nanado must forget about a consensus on taxes, which they are going to take into their pocket. Franklin Nate says, instead of Solomon also, okay, I hear you. Sometimes some of it, there are some more. Ahiyamo Godwin said, they are only talking about Joseph not representing a constituency, but was Guan or South constituency, but Guan and South constituency is still not represented in Parliament. Why not talk about this also? Sena no. This is the question we've all been asking. It says, how come people like this man can't be involved in governance? How come a man like this won't be made a minister to tap his knowledge, all because of politics? And then Kwame Nusenu says Kwesi Pratt is always a delight to listen to. So we'll move on to the other discussions, and that has to do with us being broke. Mr. Pratt already has said it, that if the president receives visitors at the presidency, he doesn't borrow. He can't do anything. I don't know how that did not translate to being broke a long time ago. Anyway, the finance minister says we are broke. He needs e-levy urgently. So we'll talk about that now. And okay, let me start with Mango once again.
And I don't want to say I thank God because Ghana is not, we are at a breaking point. But the finance minister said Ghana is broke in 2022. That is in their 6 years in government. Thankfully, it wasn't 2017 when they assumed office. In 2017, they were able to pay workers. They were able to do whatever business governments had to do. It meant that the nation was in good standing. It meant that their predecessor, President Mahama, laid proper procedures. He served selflessly. He led the country like a leader, not a politician, who was always thinking about the next election but not the next generation. So I am glad that for once Ghanaians are aware that the country is broke under President Akufo-Addo, Bawumia, and the Ken Ofori-Atta, who is supposed to handle our finances himself, and not the NDC government. I praise God for that. Sena, and the country is broke. And for that matter, if e-levy is still resisted, they will channel their e-levy efforts to petroleum products. Is that what they are saying? So now already, when the petroleum products, the buildup, it already has about 45 to 60% of tax components that goes to government alone. So now I am not an energy expert, but I honestly don't know the difference between the energy debt recovery levy and the energy sector recovery levy. I still don't understand. What are those two tax components of the petroleum price for? We have the road levy on it, we have the sanitation levy on it, and the road levy is supposed to help us build roads. But we've heard the roads minister severally that without e-levy, we cannot build our roads. So the levies they are taking on our petroleum products already, what is it meant for? Sena, do you know that if care is not taken, the way they collapse the banking sector, I'm reiterating this again, they will collapse the OMCs, the oil marketing companies, because already they have the taxes are too high, and it's so sad that Dr. Bawumia is not able to manage the dollar as he promised us in 2016. So the board distribution companies are giving the prices of the oil to the OMCs at a forward rate. $1 is a 7.2 on the board, but the BDCs, that is the board distribution companies, will give it to the OMCs at 8 cedis. Why? Because the OMCs are going to pay the money in 30 days. And because they do not trust our economy and how it's managed, they know very well that if I give you oil today and you're supposed to pay in 30 days, by 30 days, the dollar will hit 8 cedis. That is even, they are making assumptions. It can even go beyond 8 cedis. Therefore, they will also run at a loss. So the system is really bad. The dollar is disgracing the cedi by the day, And I don't know where Dr. Baumia is, because this is not what they promised us. So there are already numerous nuisance acts they claim, taxes on the petroleum price build-up. What are they going to add again? Now they talk about deregulation. Sena, it is not true. The day the drivers went on strike, the GWEL manager, which I presume Ghana has a greater percentage in GWEL, so we own it. The manager said on one of the broadcast media, precisely Joy FM, that he was called by the chief of staff to reduce its price. Therefore, the 7.99 on the board per litre, GWEL has reduced its price by 10 pesos, making the other OMCs, they are being compelled to follow that line. And they are running at a loss. Already some are folding up within 4 months. Some are folding up. They are laying off workers. Look at the unemployment situation we have in this country. So if you tell us that you cannot manage the economy, and therefore if we are not going to pay for e-levy, you will channel it to petroleum products. Mr. Kenoforiata, you are not doing us any good. You are only going to collapse businesses as you have been doing. And you are only going to burden the ordinary Ghanaian. So now, as we sit here, if you see any police vehicle moving there, it is you and I, our taxes, that buys the fuel. So when you increase the fuel prices, what do you do to us? We are already paying our own taxes, yet we are buying our own fuel. And we buy for government agencies. We buy for some of these ministers and deputy ministers as well. So how? Are you not just going to kill the ordinary Ghanaian with taxes? So that besides that, in 2016, when these guys, the MPP, were on their campaign, we had Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his team openly telling us that President Mahama was using 87 ministers and it was a large government. And they would not do that. So now when they came, Nana Addo said he was in a hurry and he was going to bring heaven on earth. So he gave us 125 ministers. When Ghanaians complained that he said, oh, the results these people will give you, you will marvel. Sena, 6 years now, they are telling us they have failed. Therefore, we should go and pay more taxes. The economy that they promised that they were moving it from taxation to production, they are begging us to pay more because they have failed. So now we begged Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to reduce his ministers just by 40, the number 40, in the MPP, in the NDC manifesto towards the 2020 election. We told them, reduce your number of ministers just by 40, and it could save the country over 63 million in a month, Ghana cedis. They did not listen to us. We told them to reduce their officially presidential staffers, their public and civil servants on secondments, their junior political appointments at the Flagstaff House. We told them to reduce it from, as of 2019, it was over 943 presidential staffers. That is official. Unofficial was about 1,300. We asked them to reduce it just by 200, and it could save Ghana over 100 million Ghana cedis a month. They did not. You have spent our money. You have wasted our time, and you come back after your first term in your second term, come to tell us that the country doesn't have money. If government doesn't have money, as Professor Jenan Opoku-Agyeman said, if government doesn't have money, how do you think the individual Ghanaian has money? What kind of logic is that? You are telling us, the government, that we have put our resources together. You are taking 20 billion oil revenue. President Mahama in his 4 years took 6 billion oil revenue, and we saw a lot of projects. We saw the developments. We saw the roads. We saw the hospitals. We saw the schools. You are taking over 20 billion and you are telling us that you are broke. What kind of a manager are you? Are these people not the better managements they call themselves? Are these people not, we have the men? And you've come back to tell us after 6 years that you are broke. So where are all the resources that we gave you? If you are broke, it means that you did not manage our resources well. Therefore, you should sack yourself. What are you in government for? I have never seen a wasteful government such as Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Baumia's government. And they are not ashamed of themselves. They are able to come back to tell us that they have spent our monies. So we should pay more. And if a government doesn't have money, say now how do you expect an individual to have money? Does this make sense? Are we not parts? Aren't we the ones who are contributing towards the government? We have given you so much. You have borrowed so much. Still in our names, we are going to pay for it. Show us, give us evidence of what you've used the monies for. You are telling us you are broke. When you are living this kind of lifestyle, then you tell teachers, lecturers to go back to the classroom. When you keep doing this, how do you expect them to reason with you? Instead of going to cut your wasteful and your useless spending, you want to cut capital expenditure. What kind of a government and what kind of people have we put together as government? What kind of people are they? You are not ready to sacrifice, but you want the ordinary Ghanaian to rather suffer for you, to live big, to live large. So now what kind of life is that? We aren't going to accept any more taxes on petroleum products because it is already packed with taxes. Every liter of fuel that you buy, government takes over 45 to 60% of it. So if a fuel is sold at 1 cedi per liter, government is taking about 60 pesos from it. What more do they want to add? So now what more? Sanitation levy is there. Look at how ordinarily Accra is dirty. The Accra that President Akufo-Addo promised that is going to be the cleanest. Was it in Africa or West Africa or in the world? It's going to be the cleanest. It's going to be the cleanest. You are taking our sanitation levy, yet Accra is dirty. You are taking road levy still on petroleum products. And kind of Amakwata is telling us that we should pay levy to build roads. So that we can't take it anymore. I don't think so. As an ordinary Ghanaian, and I speak for ordinary people, we cannot take this anymore. We told them to stop the spending. We told them to cut the waste. So that we told them. And they didn't listen to us. And now they want us to listen to them. That they have spent our monies. That they have wasted our resources. They should account to us. Maybe we'll find reason with them. They should come and account to us. That the billions of cedis they have, internally and externally, the borrowings, what did they use them for? What did they use them for? You are collapsing businesses. Your economy is bad. Therefore, the OMCs cannot even be in business because the distributors are giving it to them at a forward rate. The dollar that Dr. Baumia arrested in 2017 thereabout, they are giving it to the OMCs at a forward rate. The banks don't have credibility in the system anymore. They are not giving them loans. Those that acquired loans to build their businesses, now they are in debt and they are folding up because the dollar is running. And Baumia couldn't arrest it. So when we give you more, what else are you going to do? Because in 6 years, you already have more. We always tell Ghanaians that since Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah's time, the monies we've taken as loan till President Mahama's exit in 2016, it's more what Nanado has now. It's more than what they all took. We can talk about the Osagyefo's Akosomo Dam. We can talk about a lot of things. Let me come to President Mahama. We can talk about a lot of projects that are scattered all over. Nanado, what can we talk about? Apart from changing names into your family members' names, somebody will build an institution, you go and change the name. Apart from sitting in the skies, watching blue films in the blue skies, bathing in the blue skies, apart from those things, tell me what has Nanado done that has made him more popular than this kind of things, the wasteful expenditure or the wasteful venture he goes on. Then you come back to look into our face to tell us that you are broke, and therefore, if you are broke, Sena, if Kenoforiata is broke, because he is a finance minister, if he is broke, then I am telling him that every Ghanaian is also broke. Therefore, we cannot pay more taxes. Therefore, we will not pay e-levy. Therefore, they should come back and tell us that they have failed and exit. Because we can't tolerate this kind of incompetence. We can't tolerate this time. I don't know what is wrong with them. And they are not even shy. They are not. Moving around doing town hall meetings. Now telling us on Monday in what that if you don't even pay e-levy, you cannot pay the District Assembly Common Fund. E-levy was introduced in your budget in 2022. District Assembly Common Fund has been in arrest since 2020. So what is he talking about? Aren't they tired of lying to us? Or they think we don't read because they don't read? Is that what they think? Where a president can go and sit somewhere, make a promise and in his manifesto and later come to tell us that he did not read up to that page, so he didn't talk about the Cape Coast Airport. Because you people don't read, you think we all don't read as well? We do. We are just patient with the process. That doesn't mean you can take us for a ride. Sena, we are not paying anything today. We are not paying it tomorrow. Whatever they have, they should account for it. And they can even go to the Auditor General to help them. The 12 billion that is missing, maybe he could help them get them. I think the 12 billion is even more than the e-levy, the 6.7 billion or 6.9 billion we are looking for. Sena, this government is just a waste of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. A few messages before I come to you, Solo. This one from Ambassador Sampiali says, we have closed our borders for almost 2 years. We have placed over 200 military officers to enforce the border closure. We feed these soldiers just to kill the local economies of our border communities. Hashtag, open our land borders now. Habib Bantu says, the NPP and this Akufo-Addo government chastised President Mahama in the open. They called him names, all manner of names. Yet in the secret, they go to bow under his feet for ideas, shamelessly. They even send a clergy to go and beg Mahama. This is scammer. But for God and Adjosafo, we would have been paying e-levy for this corrupt administration. When you hear Kenufurasa say they will account for every person of the e-levy, tell him to account for the president private jet rental first. And then Kwesi in the UK says, Sena, why is Ghana still collecting $50 at the airport? Can the MPP man explain? And are the borders still closed? Abdurazak Mahama on Facebook says, we, the good viewers and listeners of Alhaji and Alhaji, are 2 years ahead of the country. Because in the last 5 months of the year 2020, Mr. Kwesi Prajimia kept hammering on the fact that the country was broke, but the MPP and his sympathizers did not believe him, only to come to the reality and accept the fact after 14 months in their second term. Sena, please tell Uncle Kwesi that he is a scientific prophet of our time. That's why I can't miss the program. I can't count how many times I've gone back to watch that clip. So,
and I think I have to correct it. He said I attacked Adjosafo. Maybe he did not listen to me carefully. And even when I was making reference to Kennedy Dapon's statement, I said allegedly. And I didn't even want to talk about Adjosafo because that is a private issue. My focus was on how corrupt your government is, to understand that they can bribe everybody, including MPs. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. I don't want to go back because right now, just what you said even vindicates my position. If indeed a statement has been made and you have not heard from the other side, my only caution to you was to wait to hear the other side. That is the principle of natural justice. So that tomorrow when you hear the other side, you don't find it difficult to change your position. It was just a caution. But if you still insist that what you said was right, you are entitled to your own opinion. Sena, what are we talking about? The Minister of Finance says the economy is not broke. I think it's important we put the statement in the right perspective so that we don't just leave it in isolation. During the town hall meeting, the minister gave a narration as teachers wanting decent salaries, you understand, which he agreed, and I agree also, because we all have family members who are teachers whose salaries are not anything to go by. And so whilst making that analogy that yes, I agree that your salaries are not decent enough, you must also note that it is garbage in, garbage out. Whatever we collect is what we pay, and that 60% of whatever we collect goes to you, the teachers. So what it means is that we don't have the room, we don't have that space to be increasing your salaries at the level that all of us expect, and to that extent the country is broke. So if you put it into this perspective, then you know that that broke phrase is only relative to increasing civil servants and for that matter teachers' salaries, and not that the entire country is broke. And he's vindicated by the fact that as we speak, UTAC, what is UTAC fighting for? They are fighting for improved conditions of service, which they signed way back in 2014, 2011, 2013, 2014, with the John Mahama administration, that we could not follow through the contract that we had with them, and that since government is a continuous process, we have to bear it. We are not in a position to meet them halfway because we are unable to generate more revenue domestically to, as it were, sort all our difficulties. We have not shied away from the fact that this country, there is a hole. In fact, if you read through all the budget statement of 2022, everything is there clear in black and white. The mere fact that we are going to collect 100 million cedis, the fact that we are going to spend 137 billion cedis, the fact that we are going to incur 37 billion deficit, is all there and it is available to the public. So we saying that we need money to plug this hole is nothing new for us to be believed. What is important is that as a country, like Mr. Pratt was saying, we must put on nationalistic approach to issues. And I like the way the Council of State has taken the lead. I like the way the government is going to the people through the town hall meetings to explain policies. Ever since we started these town hall meetings, I think views are beginning to shape. Now you hear ordinary people coming out to say, yes, it's a good thing, but we want you to start from, say, 0.5%. Yes, it's a good thing. Some are saying, let's start from 0.75% so that we graduate it annually. That is how the way to go. And I believe that with what the Council of State is doing, by meeting all stakeholders who have a say in the affairs of this country, we will make a headway. Because don't forget, whatever we are doing today becomes a precedent. I have said time and number again that there will be a time that this country is likely to have a president that has a minority in parliament. Whatever we do today, if we do not manage it well, even where we have a hung parliament, see the mess. And don't underestimate the thinking prowess of the Ghanaian. The Ghanaian gave us a hung parliament with a view that, look, the NDC has been promising Ghanaians that they would govern Ghana better. Same with the MPP. Now the Ghanaians said, we have heard all of you, both of you, we have heard your cry, we have heard what kind of things you've been telling us. Now we want you to go to parliament easily, so that you have no other option than to work together to lift this country up. What are we seeing? Chaotic situation. So in a situation where you have a certain president having a minority in parliament, what do you think is going to happen? Are we going to have any forward movement as a country? So the emphasis must be on nationalism. How well we love this country, not about our party taking entrenched position. I don't like when parties decide to take entrenched positions. My sister was talking beautifully about John Mahama's administration. We left monies. That is how we were able to pay salaries of government employees here and there. I don't remember the last time any government took over power and then stopped all taxations. We all pay taxes, and out of the taxes that every president or government uses to develop a country. So if we came and we were not charging taxes, then you would say that, oh, your mama left us money. But it has been the same situation. We were living in this country. I was in this country. I'm a businessman as well. And if I tell her the kind of hardship that his government unleashed onto us, and you compare it to what is happening today, it's like day and night. When God created heaven and earth, he said, let there be light, and there was light. It was the NDC that came to tell us, let there be darkness. For 5 solid good years, we were in darkness here. Which country can survive in terms of productivity when your power, energy is off for 5 years? There was a decrease in our performance. Go and check between 2017 till when COVID struck, and you see a clear distinction. And that is how come our brothers, when they are talking, the Ghanaians listen to them, 2. It's not okay, sir. We did elections only 2 years ago. Is it?
In 2006 and 2007, there was no Dumso.
I'm talking about your Dumso era.
When it comes to the before era, when Dr. Ndum was the Minister for Energy, there was no Dumso.
You put us through 5 years. I'm talking about your 5 years.
And you put us through how many
You are not
years?
comfortable with your 5 years, eh? You see, if you did good, you'll be smiling this morning. Because it's not a pleasant situation.
I am
you are
smiling.
able to, so, if companies went through this, look, if your this production was happening somewhere 2014, 2015, I'm telling you the cost would have incurred by buying fuel to power your plant for us to be on set, it would have been remarkable. And the Ghanaian remembers this. We are talking about an economy. She was talking about the banking sector. We lived in this country where we were paying 36% average low interest rates. Which serious business can survive with a 36% interest rate? Which serious business? I have had occasion to question my government to do more, to even reduce it from the current rate of averaging between 20 to 22%. Because we are now operating in a globalized world where you are competing with a Nigerian who is enjoying 13%. But we did it 36% at your time. And we have been told today that this governance is not good. Hey, I have never seen or heard anywhere, at least with my little mathematics I did, never have I heard 36 being better in terms of rates than 20 to 22%. We have heard all sort of people say we are not going to pay the e-levy because government must go to IMF. What is at IMF? In any case, going to IMF is not anything novel. We are a member of IMF. We contribute to the fund. We can go there at any given time. But if you have an option that will prevent you from going to IMF, why would you rely on that? Why must we go to IMF for, say, a facility of $1 billion to be handed conditionalities, such as not employing graduates who are in their hundreds of thousands? That needs bread and butter. We cannot do that. We cannot go to IMF to be told that we have to increase our fuel prices to further bring more hardship onto the Ghanaian. We cannot do that. A responsible government will not do that. Look, if we went into the budget of 2022, the more reason we have to take more taxes from Ghanaians or mobilize domestic revenue is that even the grants that we are expecting, only $847 million is expected this year. And it is not even automatic, and grants come in various shapes or forms. So if we have an alternative of, say, letting the Ghanaian pay small, why would anybody shy away from that? When we have experienced such a situation, you remember the Senchi, I said it the last time here, what led us into the Senchi economic dialogue? Worse economic situations, high interest rate, high budget deficit, high cost of living, high electricity prices, doomsday everywhere, people not getting jobs, unemployed graduates. So the president then, John Mahama, had to call Ghanaians for us to go and sit on the table. What were the outcomes of that dialogue? Imposition of taxes. That's after we had 1% import levy, 17.5% on airline tickets, 17.5% on special imported medicines, increasing taxes here and there, including KIA. But the opposition party then, the New Patriotic Party, being so responsible, knowing that governments need taxes to run the affairs of an economy, we did not go on the streets all in the name of Yentia. We rather gave the president then all the support to be taking taxes from the Ghanaian. All these taxes that I've mentioned were allowed, to the extent that we were even prevented from withdrawing more than $10,000 from our bank account, money that we ourselves put in the banks. We were prevented from doing so under the able leadership of John Mahama. We did not complain because we realized that it is Ghana. He was indeed, he himself confessed when he told the whole country that he was not a wicked person to be imposing taxes here and there, but the time demanded that he needed to. What has changed? If you went into that situation, if the NDC went into that situation, and I wouldn't even say if the NDC, the Ghanaian went into that situation, and that this is our country, this is the only place you call home, and you call on your members. What is happening in Ukraine? There is fight war there. The president is calling on all 18 years and above not to leave the country, but to help fight. If you are called upon as a citizen of this country that we are in a difficulty, so come to our aid and let us all build a solid country. Why would any opposition party, because of power, lead a demonstration against payment of taxes? Is the NDC telling us that in an unlikely event they had an opportunity to come and rule this country, they will never take taxes? That question has not been answered yet, and I expect Mago and Kwadwo to tell me here. What didn't they say about the communications tax? People that are kicking against taxes. What? Look, all the things they promised in 2008, or when we come, Ghana Vodafone, we will reverse the transaction. Was the transaction reversed? Oh, communication tax, when it comes, we will reverse it. Was it reversed? They are only playing on the minds of the Ghanaian, so that given the opportunity, they only come and tell us that, oh, we didn't know the whole. Now we know it's big. Mr. Pratt was talking to us about we having, as it were, if today visitors came to this country, we have to go and borrow for even their tea. You know what Mr. Pratt was saying? Now the government says we don't want to borrow again. The borrowing is becoming an albatross. To the extent that if you check the budget of 2022, we are going to spend 37 billion on interest payment. We don't want to increase this figure. We want this amount to come down. And we can only do so when you and I are contributing. When you and I decide to increase our tax payment threshold from 8.2% to the average, the sub-region average of 16%. That is only when we can, as it were, manage this country very well. Other than that, it will be the same cycle. Whichever government comes, it will be the same borrowing. Have you asked the NDC any alternative they have? I've been listening to them here. Not even a single policy alternative. Not even a single policy alternative. All I have heard here in this studio is some stories from heaven and earth. John Mahama was this, John Mahama. Not even a single one. It means they don't have it. Of course, they don't have it. If they did, they would have implemented those strategies between the period of 2013 to 2016 to lift this country off the poverty threshold.
Please stand for me.
So, the Ghanaian must know that when we pay taxes, it goes to our own benefit. And that the roads, the hospitals, the schools that you are looking for can only come out of these roads. And indeed, the 2022 budget makes it clear that we need money for developmental projects. If we don't pay, we are not going to get to the promised land. We need to fast track our infrastructure development. And that is all I will say.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is a message from Nana. Coming from Nana from Prom. Finance Minister says government is broke. Why won't we be broke, Sena? When we are failing to live within our needs. The president is flying in a luxury jet, which costs Ghana 70,000 plus per hour. He rides in a Mercedes-Benz Maybach. That's $100,000 plus car, with about 50 cars in a convoy. So why won't we be broke? If the finance minister needs money, he should go and take the money from the first lady's brother, who has been given a tax waiver to build his own luxury hotel. And sends regards to Kwadwo Chumbuafo and Margot. Kwadwo?
Yeah, thank you. And, you know, I often say that given the current disposition that we are in today, the hosts of these August talk programs, you should discontinue calling NDC talkers and just call the NPP people and let them explain themselves. Because I've been sitting here listening to Solo, but for want of this program is a serious program, I would have been laughing like Dr. Baumia when he talked about their economic team. Sena, do you remember that on the advent of this republic, of this government in 2017, when Dr. Bawumia outdoored the economic management team. Dr. Bawumia said, at right full back we have Honorable Alhaji Martin. At left full back we have Honorable Efri Yakoto. At center half we have Wache Jaku, and at wing back there's me myself, Alhaji Goste, Osei Kofinsi Anemu, and then we are ably coached in the goalposts. We have Honorable Yaosafo Mafo, the great goalkeeper Tony Ose, and then we are ably coached by the great calculator himself. You know, today where's Dr. Bawumia? Today, where's Dr. Bawumia? Dr. Bawumia always shows up, like I said the other day, with something E. And so every now and then, he'll show up and tell you that you can take your Ghana card and travel outside the country without a visa. I don't know whether he wants me to remove the visa in my passport and paste it on my forehead, or put it on top of my head, or paste it on my teeth. Then 3 days later, he comes back to tell us that take your passport just in case. Every now and then, you will see Dr. Bawumia coming to tell us that he is something. Is now in the offing. You know why he does that? Because Dr. Bawumia doesn't want to have any conversation about his failed economic policy that has plunged this country into the depths of deprivation. Sena, this government, as we speak today, NABCO is 5 months in arrears. NHIA is 10 months in arrears. LEAP is 1 year in arrears. District Assembly's Common Fund is 4 quarters in arrears. In short, every single statutory program, and for those who don't understand statutory, the framers of our constitution ring-fenced certain government obligations and called them statutory, which means no government had any leeway but to simply collect those taxes and then pay. There isn't even a single statutory fund payment that this government is able to pay today. Free SHS. They are much vaunted free SHS. It's in so much arrears that the teachers have threatened that they are going to shut down the schools if they don't get food to feed the children. But guess what? The buffer stock company that supplies food to the schools, in and of itself, is in arrears by 300 million cedis to food suppliers. So they themselves cannot even collect from their suppliers. So enter the miraculous kakadro called e-levy. This is the kakadro that is going to solve every problem. And this is the kakadro that cures everything. It cures yours, it cures itches, it cures gusangusa, it cures it cures every single disease known to man, kukuam. Everything, it cures every single disease known to man. And so, today, you hear the proponents of the kakadro, the investment bankers who hitherto were eating steak and caviar in the halls of power in the Bretton Woods institutions. They have now descended to Sandema to explain to the people of this country why they shouldn't be called irresponsible. So you see them at every lorry park today saying that because of love, I would die for you, Cathedral. Because of love, I would die for you. Cathedral. That is what they are doing. Why? Because they cannot explain to the Ghanaian people what they have done with the 267 billion cedis they have borrowed since 2017. Read my lips. 267 billion cedis you have borrowed. You cannot account for it. Why can't you account for it? Because you borrowed the money and then you spent it. The World Bank rescue document, which we have here, I have a graph here, that ably lists the trajectory of our debt to GDP ratio and the public debt stock and composition, tells us that in 2016 we were 55.6% debt to GDP. By 2020 through 2019 it rose to 61.2. So as at 2019, this is before COVID, we were already in trouble. By 2020, it had gotten to 76%. In November 2021, it was at 78.4. And so the excuses about COVID, being the problem that we have as a country right now, right? It's just an excuse. You see, our finance minister transposed his staff from his private company to the Ministry of Finance. They are the ones who advise him on whether to borrow and how much to borrow. The very firm that he transposed the people from are the bond specialists for the monies that we borrow. Conservative estimates say that their commissions are between 1.5 to 3%. So you do the maths. What do you think they will be telling him to do? And what do you think he's doing? Between him and his deputy, their private companies benefit from the money we borrow. So they have borrowed a whopping 267 billion and counting. Just 2 weekends ago, they issued another domestic bond. They were looking to raise 20 billion, they got only 1 billion. That is the level of the confidence that people have in their administration. So now he seeks to expropriate money from our savings by telling us that we should give him 1.75%. That's where they started off of our bank accounts, so that he can go and recollateralize that money. And make no mistake about it, if the Ministry of Finance and anybody in this government tells you that they want that 7 billion cedis to go and engage in any public improvement works or any societal improvement project, it is a damn lie. What they are seeking to do is to collect that money, securitize it, and collateralize it over a couple of years, for which they will get a certain amount of money, And when they get that amount of money, it means subsequently for the ensuing years, as you pay that levy, you still don't even get any benefit from it because they have locked it up. Just like they've locked up Get Fund. Your Get Fund has been securitized for 40 years. See, your cameraman is even shocked.
Who is shocked?
The cameraman is surprised.
He's laughing.
Yeah, that's shock.
You laugh at your figures.
40 years. That is the Ministry of Finance's own figures. You have securitized ESLA until 2035. ESLA was supposed to have timed out this year. ESLA, Energy Sector Recovery Levy, when it was instituted by President Mahama, you people coined the term nuisance tax. Today you came and the nuisance tax became the hen that was laying the golden eggs for you, for which you securitized it until 2035, and indeed you went ahead and increased that levy. In all this, in every cent that we borrow, our finance minister and his deputy have their private companies who are the bond specialists for the monies we borrow. Where on this planet is this even acceptable? You know, for those people who don't believe what I'm saying, you should go and listen to Point of View of Wednesday. Last Wednesday, Dr. Nimoy Thompson was there. And he explained what they were doing. How is it possible that today, the same Ghanaians who thought and accepted that Madam Joyce Muktari, Bawa Muktari, constituted a whole friends and family unit in President Mahama's government, are now accepting that it is okay for us as a nation to tolerate this institution of conflict of interest. I mean, if you want to define conflict of interest, I don't know how anybody can define conflict of interest any way other than I borrow money for the state. I'm a public official. I borrow money for the state. My function is borrowing for the state and running the state's financial affairs. But my own private company is making money from the borrowing I do. Isn't that motivation for me to borrow more recklessly in the manner in which they have done? But today, the pastors are quiet because they don't understand finance. Instead, they allow themselves to be sent to President Mahama, for President Mahama to allow the NDC, to ask the NDC minority to allow for the passage of e-levy. Has President Mahama sent anything to Parliament? Or today, after insulting him in the manner in which they did prior to 2016, today he becomes a purveyor of e-levy. Today, they have found use for President Mahama. Today, the Council of State, those partisan hacks, today, they find the use of talking to the minority. You see, Sena,
your last point around
if we were serious, if this government was serious in the financial crisis, they will not be sending Council of State and pastors to the opposition. The same economic team that got us into this mess, this horrible mess that we find ourselves in as a nation, will be sitting down with the opposition and jaw-jawing and trying to find the best way some of the managers of the economy should have been removed by now, so that the confidence that is needed to be created for people to know that we are trying to make changes will be at least seen to be made. But no, there's still the same arrogant, pompous posturing. Let me send that summa minority, summa council state from minority for no. If that doesn't, and the most summa support. Very, very soon you will be sending chickens. Chickens will be summa cocoa, and nothing will happen. You have disrespected the minority, and every time that they feel like it, they go and find an MP to charge with something. And you want to build consensus with who? Ghanaians will not pay, because you have not demonstrated that whatever you have been given, you have done anything with. Ghanaians will not succumb to the emotional blackmail that if you don't get e-levy, we can't pay district assembly common fund. If you don't pay e-levy, we can't buy toilet roll. If you don't pay e-levy, we can't buy talcum powder. We will not pay. Inti se sadia se beko over no enkutro ni ewe.
Thank you. This is Sedem from who says, where's the unmatched economic prowess of Dr. Bawumia? His credibility deficit is worse than our national budget deficit. Is finished. He, against his MP in opposition, chastised President Mahama for freezing employment as a result of going to the IMF. As it is now, the MPP government has not yet gone to the IMF, but twin teachers and nurses are sitting at home without being employed. This is internally self-inflicted conditionalities. Mr. Pratt.
Well, look, there's no doubt that Ghana is broke. And there's absolutely no doubt that the economy is in tatters. As a matter of fact, this is a new low for the Ghanaian economy. The Ghanaian economy has never been in this state. As a matter of fact, since independence, no government has driven the Ghanaian economy into this hole. This is first time. And you see, when we talk about the state of the Ghanaian economy, I'm uncomfortable about picking up, figures like the gross domestic product, per capita income, and so on. I'm uncomfortable because it doesn't demonstrate in graphic terms the situation we are facing. The Ghanaian economy has reached a state in which now, as we sit now here in the studio, our government cannot construct gutters. We don't have the capacity to build gutters. We don't have the capacity to build roads. We don't have the capacity to build hospitals. We don't have the capacity to provide employment for our people. We don't have the capacity to invest in agriculture. We don't have the capacity to do nothing. That's where we are. You understand? I'm saying that today, as we sit in the studio, if our president gets visitors and the visitors ask for 3 bottles of beer, we can't provide the 3 bottles of beer. 3 bottles of beer. That's how bad the state of the economy is. As we sit today, if there's an emergency in Swedro and our president has to go to Swedro, we can't buy petrol into his car. This is the state of the Ghanaian economy. We have arrived at a point where we cannot provide chalk for teachers in our primary schools. We are broke, dead broke. That is where we are. Now, Sena, we are told that total national revenue, we need 128% of total national revenue to pay for 2 items in the budget. Now, 128% means that we've already far exceeded national revenue. You understand? National revenue is 100%, but we need 128% of national revenue to be able to pay for 2 items: debt servicing and public sector emoluments. 128% of total national revenue. That's what we need for these 2 items. Now that is serious. No, so even this talk about e-levy and so on, even if we doubled e-levy, it won't fill this hole. E-levy is not a solution. The hole is so deep that even if we doubled e-levy, we would not be able to fill it. So this whole e-levy thing is a ruse. This whole e-levy thing is a ruse. It doesn't address the problem. It doesn't solve the fundamental problem of the national economy. Time is up, but I'm just going to explain. Look, the economic problem we're experiencing is a structural problem dating back many years ago. My problem with the current leadership is that it is failing to recognize this structural problem, which was not created by them, which existed before they came into office. And because it doesn't recognize this structural problem, it will not be able to solve the problem. It will make it worse. Now, what is the structural problem I'm talking about? You know, this structural problem involved at some point the capture of our people, of our forefathers and foremothers and so on, into slavery. The transatlantic slave trade, what it did to us is that it took our best doctors, our best engineers, our best farmers, the strongest of our people, captured them, took them outside this country to go and work for the prosperity of the capitalist states in Europe, in the Americas, and elsewhere. So the African economy, the Ghanaian economy, was deliberately depleted of resources necessary for advancement. Now imagine, even if we accept the figure that some people put out, 40 million Africans were shipped into slavery. Okay? Even if we accept that figure, and imagine that these were our best doctors, our best engineers, our best architects, and so on. The strongest of our people were shipped. Can you imagine the devastating consequence of that? And how long it will take to restore some balance in this economy. But it didn't end there. We went into the era of classical colonialism. And under classical colonialism, we did not own our resources. Our resources were owned by foreigners. They were exploited solely for the benefit of foreigners and so on. We did not also have the right to choose our own leaders. Our leaders were chosen by foreign powers. So, for example, the Queen of England appointed the head of state of Ghana. It was so bad at a certain stage that the Queen of England actually appointed district chief executives in Ghana. And so on. And that is why Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and others led the struggle for national liberation. That struggle for national liberation, one of its cardinal points was that the people of Ghana should own their own resources and exploit these resources for the benefit of our people. We have failed to do that. And the situation keeps getting worse and worse and worse. That is why we are in this depot. Can anybody explain why a country like Ghana, the biggest producer of gold in Africa, the 5th biggest producer of gold in the world, is in this situation? We are in this situation because the people of Ghana have only 3% interest in gold mining in Ghana. All of us have 3% interest in gold mining in Ghana. We are in this hole because if you take gold mining, only 2% of the wealth that is generated from gold mining comes back into the Ghanaian economy. 98% of the wealth which is generated from gold mining does not find its way into the Ghanaian economy. Why would you not be struggling to impose e-levy on your people? Why would we not be in this ditch and so on? This is the neo-colonial economy we are running. That is it. Look, nothing. If you're talking about generation of resources, the telecommunications sector of the national economy generates so much resources. Don't think about even the others. Just think about mobile telephones, how much money it generates. What is the Ghanaian interest in mobile telecommunications? Tell me, how much of the mobile telecommunications industry do we control as Ghanaians? We are in an economy in which, even after eating our tuozafi and so on, the meat that and the fish that sticks in between our teeth, if we have to remove it, we have to import toothpicks for that purpose. We are in an economy in which we are importing kontomire, you are importing cocoyam, you are importing tomatoes. In fact, we are importing guinea fowls. Why would you not be in this hole? This is the problem of the Ghanaian economy. Why would you not borrow? Why would you not have a debt overhang when you drive yourself into this hopeless situation? Last week, I saw something circulating on social media, and I suspect that all of you have seen it. Somebody describing his life, a Ghanaian, says, why? He wakes up in the morning from a Chinese-made bed. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Goes to brush his teeth with an imported toothbrush and imported toothpaste. Gets into a German-made car, filled with imported fuel, and drives to an office which has been constructed probably by a British firm, and so on and so on. I mean, that was so graphic. So this person, from waking up in the morning to going to bed in the night, 90% of this person's life is imported. 90% of this person's life is imported. Why would you not be in debt? So until we get to the stage where we are ready to deal with this structural defect of our economy, until we get to the stage when our leaders become sensible enough to realize that the path out of this hole is a path that will lead to the building of an independent national economy, to a self-reliant national economy, to an economy which is integrated into the African reality. 2 days ago, I was speaking somewhere, and I was pointing to the fact that the Democratic Republic of the Congo has sufficient water resources to provide hydroelectric power for the whole of Africa. Why are we in this mess? One country in Africa can provide for all of our hydroelectric needs. Why are we in this hole? You see, unfortunately, there is not sufficient time. This phenomena of the race to the bottom, we have to end it somehow. African countries are competing with themselves and fighting with themselves to get to the bottom, not to rise up. These gold manufacturing companies, they go to South Africa and they tell South Africa, look, as for investments, they go where the conditions are favorable. So give us favorable conditions so that we can bring our investments here. The South Africans say, okay, good, we'll give you 1 year tax holiday. They say, thank you very much. They take the 1 year tax holiday, they go to Guinea. Guinea has gold. And they say, look, they tell the same story to the Guineans. The Guineans say, okay, we'll give you 2 years tax holiday. Then they go to Mali. Mali says, we'll give you 3 years tax holiday. They come to Ghana, we say, we'll give them 4 years. And then they keep moving on. We are all racing to the bottom. And the only way out of this is for Africa to act with one voice. One voice. Continental unity is imperative for our development. Unfortunately, we don't have time. We will continue another time.
I think we can continue next week because next Saturday will be 5th March. It will be a day to the celebration of the Independence Day of Ghana. So there will be a special program talking about Ghana's independence, so far how far we've come, and whether or not we are on the right course. So we'll spend some time on the discussion that Mr. Praj just started. But let me say a happy birthday to Shine Gave. At 12:59 a.m., this man sent me this message. Good morning, my brother. Today is my birthday. I am 70 years old. So happy 70th to Mr. Shine Gave. A happy birthday to you. And a happy birthday to Sena Ajovisika. Happy birthday to you too. And let me say a belated happy birthday to 3 people. Godwin Eduji Tamaklo celebrated his birthday yesterday. Esquire, a belated happy birthday to you. A belated happy birthday to Dr. Jehuapia. Celebrated his birthday yesterday too. And so did Moses Kuku Aheto, doctor, an academic at the University of Ghana, was celebrated his birthday yesterday. Turns out this week, Honorable Jifar Ativo would have been 67 years. Actually, this week. She was buried last week, Saturday by this time. She was being buried at her hometown. 2 days or 3 days after was her birthday. So that was a further reminder of her passing. But Monday will be the 70th birthday of one of the faithful listeners and followers of this program. Madam Georgina Tamaklo will celebrate her 70th birthday on Monday. So let me wish her a happy birthday in advance. Okay.
To Madam Jifa Atibo. Yeah. And I think that's a huge, what do you say, a huge oversight, you know. Madam Jifa Atibo was key in establishing Alhaji and Alhaji. I recall our early days, you know, in Radio Gold. Of course, we started from Vibe FM and then eventually moved to Radio Gold and so on. She became so interested in the development of the program that every Saturday when we ended the program, she came to feed us. She came personally to feed us. She would cook from the house and feed us, you know. And she was such a remarkable woman, such a kind-hearted woman, that I think that her loss is a major blow, not just to Alhaji and Alhaji, but to all of us. And it's unfortunate that we've not been able to pay tribute to Madame Jifa Atibo. As they say, may she rest in peace. even though I'm not sure that death brings us rest. But that's how they say it. May she rest in peace.
In addition to that, she actually gave us 2 affiliates we can work with in the Volta region.
That's true.
Global FM, which is a radio station home, and also Volta One TV, which is currently streaming us live now as we speak. So a big thank you. We are eternally grateful to her.
Madam Jifativo, it's her quiet effectiveness. If you wanted 2 words to describe her, it's quiet effectiveness. If you decided to go through the litany of things she has done quietly but effectively, it will be another 3-hour program. But may she rest in peace. And let me wish my son Rahim a happy birthday. He was born on the 24th of February.
Oh, okay.
He's birthday. He's 8 years old, and he always watches his
What's
dad
the
on.
date on which you be born?
Yeah.
But he's a budding Nkrumahist. He recognizes that it was a day of shame, but you can't help the day you were born.
That's good. I would like to say a big thank you to my panel for today. Always wonderful to see Comrade Kwesi Prajimia, who is the General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. And a big thank you to Margot. Promised me last week. She came this week. Margaret Anse. And also a big thank you to Solomon Owusu. Wonderful to see him always. Member of the MPP communication team. And of course, it's fantastic to always have Mr. Kojo Tumbuafo, who is a former chief executive of the Ghana Free Zones Authority. We are done for today. We are back same time next week with another edition of the program. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And of course, have a fruitful week. Meet us back here. And don't forget, next week is a special one about the independence of Ghana. So do make a date. Thank you to my crew here at Pan African TV, and thank you to our affiliates across the country.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom.